Good morning, Unleashed Lund loyalists. Thanks for tuning in live each weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. Remember, please like and subscribe and listen where you get your podcasts. Be on the lookout for Lund loyalists perks by joining the club. And if you really want your comments read during the show, you can use supers and stickers. Now, as close to on time as he gets, here's Johnny.
Good morning. Let me get this off the screen here. It is our Saturday debut because we do all sorts of, let me fix this mic here. It's a little hot. We do all sorts of shows during the week, but this is our first one on a Saturday edition of the show. I was just on with Krug. That's why I'm late. I know that the thing says late. We will get into this. Don't blame the Dodgers because Sasaki is a member. Roki Suzuki is a member of the Dodgers. Maybe you're pissed about that. If you just moved over here from the Krug discussion, I will just finish up something that we were just talking about. And thank you, by the way, even on a Saturday. Look at, you're making Saturday time for me. This is beautiful. Pine Needle is here. Good to see Jake. I'm going to see some new names in here as well. Steve is here. Awesome. AJ Cruz. Thank you, people, by the way, because I did ask during the week if you would be down with a Saturday show, and everybody seems to be down with a Saturday show. So very nice as I'm looking at everybody who is in here. Hang on one second. Jeez. The heck did that come from? Hang on 1 minute. I apologize for coughing in your face there. So if you just made it over from the Krug show, I just did an hour with Krug and thought we'd be done by about 10 o'clock. And then I was like, oh, hey, Jeff, how you doing, man? It's good to see you on a Saturday. So first of all, thank you. Clement Akers is here. Good morning to you. Thank you. We're going to do these Saturday shows at 10 a.m. as long as people are jumping in and having a good time with them. So this is our first Saturday show. And I want to make sure that people are hanging out. It's good to see some news in here already. Gizmo is here. Tacky, I got you. If you are, Dublin is right near me. So, I'm absolutely thinking about doing that. So we'll get into a ton, as you see. And if you're new to the show, we have a nice little chalkboard to your right there. And this is episode 35, Saturday debut show, as you see. Krug show I just mentioned. We were on the Krug show there. And so it was good to see Krug. We will get into some Dodgers, and I'm not blaming the Dodgers on this whole thing. NFL playoffs today. I've had it with Charles Barkley, and I love Charles Barkley. Sorry, I had to turn it down one more time because I got something going on. But I would ban Charles Barkley from the NBA All-Star game because I pretty much had it, and I'm not buying this thing anymore. Oh, it's just Charles being Charles. Charles is so funny. I'll give you the latest on that. The Wiz are in town, which last year at this time, I don't know when they played last year. It was over Christmas, I guess, because my son was in town, and we went and we covered the game, and everybody was hugging Jordan Poole, and it was his first time back, and they had this video for him and everything, and they're not going to do that again, but we can revisit that thing. Random stuff. Again, if you're new to the show, we just go on tangents constantly. I look at the chat line, and you guys are talking about something, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, yeah, okay. Damon says, hey, quit coughing. I'm trying to do a show here. I agree 100%. I don't know what's happening. I didn't cough one time, and I was with Krug for an hour, and now I don't know. I took I'll be 100% honest with you, and this coffee is ice cold now. I was drinking Bailey's and coffee, so that I thought that was going to help me. I'm just getting over something that I got. But anyway, got that as well. Random stuff. If you're new to the show, essentially what I do is you guys send me on a tangent, and then that's what I do. I go off on a tangent, and then we have the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol, as always. So again, thank you for joining us for the debut Saturday show. We'll see how this all works out, but let's get to everything. And again, I appreciate everybody coming in on a Saturday edition of the program. So we'll see how that thing works out. All right, I started with this, and this is the show cover for the day. With Krug and I, we got into a bunch of NFL talk, and we'll do that a little bit later. But obviously the big story of today, of yesterday, of late last night was Roki Suzuki, and not too surprising fashion, joins the Dodgers. And so everybody's upset and everybody's pissed off, and this is what the Dodgers rotation is going to look like through Jeff Passan. And think about this. They won the World Series last year. and they didn't have Shohei Ohtani, and they didn't have Blake Snell, and they only had Yamamoto for 90 innings last year, and Glasnow threw 134 innings before he got hurt, and then Roki Suzuki. So essentially, they didn't have three of those guys, and Glasnow threw 134, and Yamamoto threw 90. So they essentially have a new rotation, a much better rotation. Now, Snell could get hurt again. He did. Ohtani's coming off Tommy John. So if you want to be, I don't know, negatively optimistic about the Dodgers, you could say to yourself, well, those guys couldn't stay healthy last year. If they do stay healthy, it's ridiculous. And I'm not pissed, actually, that Sasaki signed with the Dodgers, because I think that if he would have signed with the Padres, it would have been much more damaging, because you're much closer to the Padres and the Diamondbacks than you are the Dodgers. They're just in another stratosphere. And so everyone's pissed off at the Dodgers. Now, look, I'm not saying I like the Dodgers, because I don't. But they're in a different stratosphere. And I'm not pissed off at the Dodgers, as I say on the show cover today. Don't blame the Dodgers. To me, this is Major League Baseball allowing it. And a lot of it is because Roki Suzuki, and you probably know this, but I'll just tread on this ground one more time. It didn't cost him a lot of money. This was international signing money. So they're getting him on the cheap. And they're getting Ohtani on the cheap because he deferred a bunch of money. So if you want to blame something, blame the way that baseball works, because the Dodgers found a loophole in being able to defer all this money. And I do the same thing. So I can put Ohtani on a credit card. I can put Blake Snell on a credit card where I don't have to really pay them for years, when, the Guggenheims who own the Dodgers will be dead. So I can put these guys on a credit card, Major League Baseball. Let me get this straight. I got this, American Express Black card, and I don't have to pay, or whatever is the biggest MasterCard or Visa. I don't know that, because I'm not in that realm. I'm not in that pay area. But I could put these guys on layaway. I could put these guys on a credit card, and I don't have to pay. I mean, it's going to be another ownership group that's going to pay those guys. I'll be long gone and dead. Yes, please. So first of all, I get the vitriol for the Dodgers. I have it too. But they're just taking advantage of the rules and saying, I don't have to pay these guys. The Giants could do it. The Giants ownership could say, so we can put this guy in layaway. We can put this guy in a credit card. They could do it. And then they could push that money down the line in like a Bobby Bonilla kind of a way, or, all these guys who get deferred money. Max Scherzer's making a bunch of deferred money. And all these guys say, sure. I mean, they don't need money now. They're just like, sure, well, I'll defer this into the future so that 10 years from now, I'll be sitting in a rocking chair and you're paying me millions of dollars. Okay, I'll do that, because I don't need the money now anyway. Now, I would like to invest the money. I'd like to have the money, but okay, you want to pay me this funny money 10 years from now? And I laugh every time, like July 1st, I think Bobby Bonilla goes out to he doesn't go out to his mailbox. It's not a paper check. What the hell am I talking about? He gets a big deposit into his, he gets an automatic deposit, I think, on July 1st every single year, July 2nd for a couple $1 million. I mean, he's loving that now. He doesn't have to do anything the rest of his life. So it's pretty cool. So first of all, Major League Baseball is to blame for the setup, and the Dodgers are simply taking advantage of it. And the team, everybody always says, well, the Dodgers have a bunch of money. They're the only team who can do this. No, they're not. Do you realize that the Giants are the biggest single market entity in baseball? So the biggest market is New York, 2 teams. Second biggest market is LA, 2 teams, although the Angels kind of don't count. Chicago, 2 teams. Bay Area is the 4th largest media market in the country, 1 team. And I've thought about this a little bit, because what I first said was, well, the A's have been around, so we're not going to see the residual effect from the A's leaving the market, I don't know, for 8 or 10 years. And then maybe the Giants will really start to spend, because then those younger people will become Giants fans. But to be honest, ever since 2010, the A's have been largely irrelevant. Now, whether it's Lou Wolf, or whether it's John Fisher, or whether it's Dave Kaval, or whoever it is that you want to blame, but they have drilled themselves into the ground, and now they're in Sacramento, so they're not in the market. And maybe they'll go to Las Vegas and they really won't be in the market. But the reality is this, that they have been irrelevant for a lot of years, especially since the Giants started winning World Series in 2010. So they could have taken advantage of this major market. All they essentially did was say the A's couldn't go to San Jose, but they have owned this market for the last, now we're in 2025. So they've owned this market for now about 15 years, and they haven't taken advantage of it. They've just sat there and said, yeah, because the A's, they have their pocket of fans, and I love the pocket of fans that the A's have, but it's a pocket of about 10,000 really hardcore fans, and then that's about it. They don't get the casuals. The Giants get the casuals because where the park is and all the things around it. And so, the casual fans will go to the game because you make an afternoon of it or a night of it, or you stay in the city or whatever it is. You can make a whole thing of it. It's around the game, but you can do all these things. Well, at an A's game, you go to the game, you go home. And a lot of times you're like, let's get the hell out of here early. I mean, that's the reality of the situation and how it was. So the Giants have owned this market for years and haven't done anything about it. So if you want to blame anybody for Sasaki signing with the Dodgers and you hate the Dodgers, and I totally get it, A, you blame baseball for the way that things are, and then B, you blame the Giants for not taking advantage of something that they could take advantage of. Because if you look at it right here, all right, this is next year's payrolls. Look where the Giants are. And ironically enough, they're right next to the Red Sox and the Cubs, 3 teams that are major market teams that, while I won't say they act like the A's, they act like mid-market teams. The Cubs could absolutely dominate. They have a TV setup with Marquee that is their own network. They have a ton of money, but the Ricketts won't spend it. Boston the same way. They used to be up there with the Yankees and the Dodgers and all that kind of stuff, and now they just don't want to do it. Well, they're not winning. In baseball, you got to spend money. Now, look, it's stupid money sometimes and all these kind of things, but there's no way in hell that the San Francisco Giants should be sitting at 13 in payroll. They're not with the Yankees. They're not with the Dodgers. They're not with the Mets. I get it. But they can be competitive with the Phillies, who have the highest payroll right now. They can be competitive with Houston, which isn't a major market. And you look at them, they're top 5. They can be competitive with Texas. Nobody even knows that baseball exists in the state of Texas, yet there they are spending money sitting at 6. Toronto's a major market, and they're trying. The Padres, San Diego is not a major market, but they try. The Angels, come on. The Diamondbacks are ahead of them. That's ridiculous. So for next year, right now, the Giants sit at 13. And while payroll doesn't mean everything and sometimes anything, in baseball it means a lot. There is no salary cap. And as far as the penalties are concerned, it's nowhere near what the NBA imposes. Don't let anybody tell you anything differently. They have chosen to be 13th in payroll. They've chosen it. They've decided we won't spend money. Buster Posey got one chance to spend money, and it was on Willy Adames. And I can't believe that Willy Adames wasn't told, we're going to spend more, don't worry about it. We're going to get more, don't worry about it. I'm shocked to the fact that Buster Posey is new in town and didn't get more leeway. Because when you start a job, and you know this, when you start a job, that's the time to get everything you want. You hurry and you go to management and you say, we need A, B, C, and D. And generally speaking, they're like, okay, it's the new guy. We're going to give him that. So I thought they would loosen up the purse strings for Buster Posey. And I'm not saying that Willy Adames doesn't matter. He does. But that's not all. And you look at, and I'm going to show you the payroll for the Giants in just a second. Lamont Wade Jr. needs to be replaced. Mike Yastrzemski can't be your right fielder when you have this kind of an offense. If Justin Verlander 10 years ago would have been, woohoo, awesome. Not now. He's almost 42 years old. Do I think he can be a 4 or 5, anchor the back end of the rotation? I do. Could he be like he was in 2022 when he went 18-4 with a 175? I doubt it. So then let's look at just a breakdown of the Giants payroll. Then I'll give you the Dodgers payroll. And this is all because of Sasaki, if you just joined the show. So the red marks there, that's really professional what I just did. The red marks there is contracts that you could question. All right. So Matt Chapman, I have no issue with it. You may not have wanted to go 6 years on Matt Chapman, but I have no issue with that. But then you start going after that. Robbie Ray is going to get paid what he's paid at 33 coming off Tommy John. That's not smart. Jung-Hoo Lee. Everybody loves Jung-Hoo Lee, and I love the smile, and everything's great. He was a 260 hitter with a 641 OPS, and they gave him $112 million. Verlander is their 4th highest paid player. He's a flyer. I love the name. Exciting. Might turn some turnstiles, but a 42-year-old pitcher coming off a major neck injury, and before that, Tommy John. Ew. I never liked I'm cool with Willy Adames. Never liked the Hicks signing, but again, that's $444 million. That's not really that much money. You're a major market team. You're the 4th largest medium market in the country. The A's didn't exist, but now they're gone. And that's your, 5th, 6th highest paid player. And he's better served in the bullpen anyway. There's Logan Webb. He's worth every dollar. Taylor Rogers, really? For $12 million? Mike Yastrzemski, really? And then then nobody makes any money. Tyler Rogers is at 5. Lamont Wade, who I want replaced, is at 5. Duvall's not making much money. Tom Murphy, who the hell are you? Flores is still hanging around, and then it just gets to nothing. $800,000, blah, blah, blah. All right. So that's the Giants payroll. That's what they've decided to do. And the red marks are questionable contracts. And really, you can look at Matt Chapman making 25. That's a fair amount of money. But Robbie Ray at 33 making $25 million coming off Tommy John is not money well spent. Sorry. So not only are they not spending money and then the middle of Major League payroll, which again, I'll flash that up one more time. Ridiculous that they would be 13th in payroll between two teams in Boston and Chicago that used to be near the top and have just given in as well. Well, they'll still turn the turnstiles. Red Sox fans love to go to baseball games. We don't have to really spend any money. The Giants the same way. We'd rather keep the turnstiles turning. I don't believe that they really want to win. And then the Cubs are the same way. I just read an article yesterday about Tom Ricketts, their cheap owner. They have their own TV network marquee, and they don't spend any money. They just don't. They traded for Kyle Tucker, and the way they did that, next year he's a free agent. He's making like $16 million this year, which isn't a ton by baseball standards. So it's not like they went out and spent a bunch of money, even though they could. So I'm blaming the Giants on that. Now let's look at what the Dodgers do. And I know you hate the Dodgers. I get it. I don't like the Dodgers, but look at their money well spent. Blake Snell at the top. He could get hurt, but I get it. Glasnow, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez, great year last year. Conforto's a joke. Like, I don't know why they gave Conforto $17 million. They must have lost the tape of the last couple of years with the Giants, and he's injury prone. Max Muncy, that's not a ton to pay for Max Muncy, who's a Giants killer. Yamamoto, again, they deferred a bunch of money there. Chris Taylor, I don't love, but then Will Smith, Trinan, none of those guys are making a ton of money. So they've made smart moves. So rip the Dodgers all you want. Say that it's not fair. All that is jealousy. Why didn't we? There was no reason why you couldn't have gotten Sasaki. And more so, here's the one thing, too. Let me pop up their payroll one more time. Where's Ohtani in there? Oh, they deferred the money because Ohtani said something that not a lot of big-time athletes will do because he gets so much endorsement money from Japan. He's like, you don't have to pay me much. So blaming the Dodgers for that? Hey, you know what? I'll give you a massive discount and you can pay me later when you're basically dead. The ownership's going to be dead. So they're like, yeah, sure. I'll do that. But they have 3 Japanese players on their team now. They have Ohtani on that team. They have Yamamoto on that team. And now they have Sasaki. And the reality is this. Whether Joel Wolf, his agent, wanted to believe it or not, there's a reason why he went there. Not only because they're going to win, but it's a great organization. Believe it, like it or not, it's the reality. And they have players to make him feel comfortable. So we know this. He wasn't comfortable with the media. He doesn't really want to be the center of attention. Well, I know in LA you're the center of attention, but it's not like being the center of attention in New York or Philadelphia or these major media markets that are hard on guys. We're easy on the West Coast. We're easy here. We're easy in LA. It's not hardcore. So the only thing you'd have to deal with is the Japanese media, which there's a ton of, but that's where Ohtani comes in. He's comfortable with it. That's where Yamamoto comes in. So he's kind of like the third guy. He doesn't have to be the star. If he had to go to San Diego, and I know that Darvish is there and could deflect some of that, but he's not in the prime of his career anymore, and they'd be all about Sasaki. And if he went to any of these other teams that he ultimately turned down, he would be the center of attention. He goes to LA, a major market, but he doesn't have to be the center of attention because he's the third Japanese player in, and that's going to probably make him feel much more comfortable. So blame the Dodgers, hate the Dodgers. All they're doing is taking advantage of the system. And they're not even the highest payroll team. That's the Philadelphia Phillies this year. So that's what they're doing. And so let's take this to a business sense. I do this all the time. So let's look at this in a business sense. Why wouldn't you go to the best business you could go to? Why wouldn't you go to the most successful business you could go to? You would. If given the opportunity, and in this case, the money's not much different because it's from an international pool, where are you going to go? Where are you going to make the most endorsement money? He's got 2 other Japanese players that are going to take the pressure off him from a media standpoint. It's a winning organization. You're going to be in the playoffs. You'll get a bunch of endorsements because it's a diverse city and place to play. You're going to be high profile, but not as much. Like, there's all these positives that go into it. So now let's go back to the Giants. And my premise is, don't blame the Dodgers. Baseball's involved in this in the way that they have these major loopholes that they will not close. And then you look at the Giants as the 13th highest payroll. You're not signing Japanese players. We've read in Andrew Baggerly's pieces that the Giants are contemplating not even being in the Japanese market now. Like, the players won't come here. Why is that? We have a diverse city that has a huge Asian population, Japanese population. I'm sure there's great places to eat for him. I'm sure there's people that can help him. But yet no one, Nori Aoki in 2015 was the last Japanese player. Why aren't they getting Japanese players? There's all these ways that you can build a team. You can go the international route if you're the Giants and they just signed the second best international prospect after Sasaki. So maybe in 7 or 8 years, that'll be great. Wonderful. You've got to go through the draft. They haven't been so great through the draft lately. You can sign free agents. Well, they can sign pitchers that will come here generally, but they don't sign hitters. Now, it was great to get Willy Adames, but he is certainly the exception, not the rule. So how are they actually going to build this thing? Well, you got to go spend some money. And again, that's not as prohibitive as what the NBA is. Don't let anybody tell you differently. This is a choice for the Giants to have the 13th highest payroll in baseball. It's a choice. That's what it is. Let me just pop this up there one more time. These teams at the top, Philadelphia has decided to spend money and win. The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Astros, the Rangers won a World Series 2 years ago. Toronto, they can't get players to take their money, but they're up there. The Padres, the Braves. I'm sorry, but the teams that I just mentioned right there, the Angels in the 10th spot are the worst of the group, and the Cubs. And now you get into the major markets. Look, if the Angels wanted to spend the money, they could. They're in LA. Arizona's ahead of you. The Cubs, who are a joke. The Cubs, the Giants, and the Red Sox right there are major market teams that are in the same boat. They've decided, you know what? All three of those teams have decided the turnstiles turn. Why are we going to spend any money? Cubs fans come out to Wrigley Field more so when they lose. Oh, this is fun. And they have a great atmosphere. If you've never been there, it's like dropping a ballpark in the middle of a neighborhood. Fenway's the same way. Fans are going to come out. It's summertime. They love baseball. And their owners have decided, you know what? They're coming out anyway. We don't need to spend any money. Winning's overrated. The Cubs got a World Series in 2016. The Red Sox have had a few. They're like, well, it's cool. No big deal. This is where we're going to be. It's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous for the Giants now to be the single biggest baseball entity in any market. LA's got 2. Chicago's got 2. New York's got 2. It's the 4th largest media market in the country, and they don't act like it. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? The A's just barely left. It'll come around. The A's have essentially been gone since the Giants started winning World Series, and they don't take advantage of it. And if you want to say that spending money doesn't equal success, the Phillies, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, not so much the Mets, Houston, Texas, who won a World Series 2 years ago, San Diego, who was in the playoffs last year, Atlanta, who was in the playoffs last year. That's your top 9. And then it starts with the Angels, but Arizona's been successful. Teams who spend money are winning ball games. Now, is there an exception? I look down there at Kansas City and Milwaukee. Sure, there's exceptions to the rule. St. Louis has been a good team. Minnesota. There is exceptions to the rule. Baltimore's got a nice young team. They're at, 15? But if Baltimore wants to get over the top, they're going to have to start spending some money. So this is up to the Giants. The Giants have decided to put an imaginary glass ceiling ahead of themselves. They wouldn't spend the money it took to get Corbin Burns, whether you want to agree with that or not. They essentially have a self-imposed limit on the amount of years that they'll give out from a contractual standpoint, although whether you like it or not, and they tried with Carlos Correa, you've got to start giving guys double-digit years who are position players. It's the way the game is. And you've got to give longer than 5-year contracts out to pitchers. I know it sucks. It's too bad because you never know when a guy's going to blow out. And in baseball, the contract is 100% guaranteed. So you're going to get burned by some of these deals. There's going to be a Pujols deal. There is going to be, those things are going to happen. They got burned by Matt Cain. They got burned. I know they won World Series. They got burned by Barry Zito. I understand it. And so the current ownership is like, whoa, like a hot stove. They don't want to do that. I get it. But there is a definite correlation in baseball of spending money and winning. And the Giants have decided that 13 is where they want to be, that this is where we're going to be. Now, maybe it's because they look at the NL West, for example, and say, well, A, we're not catching the Dodgers. B, Arizona, we're not catching them. And we're probably not catching the Padres. But if you look at this from a market standpoint, you're much bigger than San Diego. You're much bigger than Phoenix. Act like it. If I'm a fan, that's all I'm asking for. Don't spend stupid money. I get it. But you're telling me that you think that Justin Verlander, and this is just a vibe I'm getting. Maybe I'm wrong. But the vibe I'm getting from the Giants is that they think that Justin Verlander is going to be a number 2 starter in this rotation at 42 years old. Okay, good luck. I don't think so. But that's what it looks like. So anyway, all I'm saying is that I'm looking at this situation with the Giants, and I looked at Sasaki, and I looked at social media today and yesterday when it happened, and everybody's pissed. Everybody's pissed off at the Dodgers. And I'm going, look, I get it. I don't like the Dodgers either. I grew up in LA and didn't like the Dodgers. I grew up in Orange County. I grew up by the Big A, about 5 miles from the Big A. And we weren't Angels fans either. My parents were from Chicago, and so we were, if anything, Cubs fans. And so we weren't a fan of the LA teams. I didn't hate the Dodgers, but coming up here, you get it. But I don't hate them. If you're a business, what you're trying to do in or out of sports is take advantage. What are the rules? Okay, these are the rules. This is how I'm going to play it. Could the Giants defer money? Yes, they could. Could the Giants afford to defer money? Yes, they could. The numbers are just going up and up and up. So it's not like what the Dodgers are thinking is when we pay this money, it's going to be fine because we're going to win championships. The value of the team is going to go up. All the, the salaries are going to go up. All these penalties, they're getting around the penalties and they're still getting and paying the players. It's amazing. It's smart. It's good business. The Giants have decided not to do it. So rather than cry and moan and bitch and all that kind of stuff, that it's the damn dirty Dodgers, they're just taking advantage of the rules. And any team could do it. Any team could say, put this on a credit card. Put this on my gold card. Put this on my black card. Whatever card that I don't own and have and can afford. But they can. And they're just deciding, you know what? We're a major market, but we're not going to act like it. And I don't need to pop that up again, but that's what the Cubs are doing. That's what the Giants are doing. That's what the Red Sox are doing. That's what they've decided that. That's a internal choice to say we're done. That we signed Willy Adames and look at that and renew your season tickets and keep the turnstile moving. The Giants aren't serious about winning. The Dodgers are. So Roki Suzuki and his representation say, well, how can I maximize my time in Major League Baseball? I want to win. I want to be on a high-profile team. I want to go to the playoffs. So even though he's taking, which would be to you and I, a bunch of money, he's taking a massive pay cut. This wasn't a dollars and cents, and this is why it would probably piss me off so much if I was a Giants fan. This was not a dollars and cents. This was not about the Dodgers outbidding you for someone. This was someone who looked at a situation and said, what's the best situation for me? How can I long-term make the most money, make the most impact, play in the playoffs, be high profile, eventually get a bunch of money and get the most out of all the endorsement that he's going to do back in Japan and then eventually get some in a diverse city like LA. And the reason, again, that I'm ranting and raving and pissed about this is there's nothing that could prevent him from coming here except for the fact that the Giants won't spend. This is a diverse city. It's on the West Coast. It's closer to Japan. A lot of players have chosen that, whether it be Seattle or LA, even San Diego. Yu Darvish didn't make the choice. He was traded from the Cubs. But because the Giants, I think, didn't want to go that far, aren't that impressive, aren't winning, or a bit of a mess, why would he want to come here? I'm surprised that they were even in, I don't know, what did they finish? Top 5? And they're not the bridesmaids anymore. That's Toronto. But anyway, that's just my thought. I know it's not popular to say don't be mad at the Dodgers, but I'm not mad at the Dodgers. They're taking advantage of things. They've put together an organization that wins every year. They have proven that they're going to spend what it takes. And the Giants have just sat here since 10, 12, and 14 and done all these reunions and all these things and remember 10 years ago and remember all this kind of things. Nobody does it better than them. Nobody does that. Nobody has a better promotional schedule. They do all these things that make you believe, and I 100% believe this now, that they're just about turnstiles turning and keep coming to the games and keep buying the jerseys and keep buying the merch. And we'll give you just a little bit that makes you maybe think we're here to win. But I mean, if I'm Willy Adames right now, they had to have sold me on something like, I'm not the only one here. Like, don't worry, we're going to spend this money. And maybe they told Buster that. And then they just said, nah, it's cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Good morning, everyone. I'm done ranting and raving. I'm done. But it's frustrating. And again, I'm not mad at the Dodgers. And I'm not really mad at Major League Baseball. These loopholes have been in place for a long time. I guess my confusion comes into, if you're the Giants, why wouldn't you put somebody on layaway? Why wouldn't you put somebody on a credit card? You don't have to pay them now. So what? So you have to defer some money. They just will not do it. You're a major market team. And you've been a major market team for a long time, and the A's haven't been relevant for a long time. So this just isn't like, hey, the A's are moving, and we're going to have this whole generation of fans are going to be Giants fans. You should, and you probably do have a whole generation that's Giants fans, just based on you winning. I mean, my son went to school here and was never a Giants fan, and every kid had Giants gear on from middle school, high school. You own the Bay, and don't give us any other excuse. It hasn't been a split since not even before 2010. I mean, since Al Davis ruined the stadium, basically, that's when it's been since. So anyway, I'll quit. I'll stop. We have other things to discuss, but I just wanted to get that off my See, I agree with you, Tommy. I agree with you, and thank you very much for supporting the show. Those are through supers and stickers, and if you want to get your your chat on the screen. A couple bucks won't kill you. I agree with you, man. I don't love the Dodgers. I'm just saying, I think that as far as Giants fans are concerned, and they look at Sasaki and they go, man, F the Dodgers. I understand it. But baseball is certainly to blame for this. But in this case, just because we're sitting right here, it's the Giants, it's the Red Sox, it's the Cubs, it's these teams that are not acting like major market teams. And certainly in the Cubs and the Red Sox case, and I'm gonna lump the Giants into this as well. They're just trying to turn turnstiles. They're not trying to win. And when you're a fan, you're under this false illusion that every team, your team, is always trying to win. They're not. These guys own numerous businesses. And I've told you this story before. I was in Salt Lake City, and Larry Miller, the owner of the Jazz, had died. And he's got a bunch of auto groups, and his son Greg came on. And I said, well, what can we expect out of your ownership? How is it going to be different? And he said, well, you know what? No offense. It's just I look at this team as similar to all the other the 50 businesses that I own. I want them to all do well. And so he kind of just said without saying, my dad was kind of out of control and was such a huge fan, but I'm not really that. This is just another business to me. And fans just were like, what? But that's how a lot of them think. Like I read a story on Tom Ricketts this morning of the Cubs because I knew I was going to talk about this today. And Tom Ricketts is like, we try to break even every year. It's a business to us. And it's like, you'll break even at the end. You'll more than break even. The longer you own the team, the more you're going to make. And the better that you can make your team, the more money you're going to make. But he's thinking to himself, these dumb Wrigley Field drunks will come out no matter what we do. And Red Sox fans feel that way. And I'm not saying that the Giants organization feels like you're dumb, but I think they're just trying to do enough to bait you into the stadium. Look, we got Willie Adames. Come see him play. We re-signed Matt Chapman. Come see us play. Great. You're fourth in the division. Hey, we just signed Justin Verlander. Yeah, at 42, not 32. I don't see it. Yeah, that's a great point, Daniel. Please stop buying tickets. Show them how we feel. I've advocated that for so long, and it's just difficult. You know, I've kind of given up on that premise because I look at it. I say this all the time. I look at it like a restaurant. The restaurant will tell you, hey, you know what? I know we're serving horse meat right now, but if you keep coming, we're gonna get steak. We're gonna get Wagyu. Is that even how to say Wagyu? We're gonna get Wagyu if you keep coming in. But for right now, we got to serve horse meat. But if you keep coming in and you keep supporting the restaurant, that horse meat's going to become Wagyu in no time. Well, no. That's not how it works. You get the Wagyu, you get the great stuff. I'll come to the game. But the Giants are telling you, maybe it's not horse meat. That's probably not fair. But they're certainly not giving you the Wagyu. Maybe they're giving you, cube steak. My parents used to serve that to me all the time. They're like, cube steak, it's steak. I'm like, no, it's just fancy burger. Like, and it's not even good. And they would put that on my plate with a little salt and pepper on it when I was growing up. I don't even know if you know what cube steak is. It was terrible. I was like, this is just like a hamburger. It's not steak at all. And they called it cube steak. And it's like, it's not steak. So, and it was cheaper than steak. I'm just saying. Sons of Johnny LeMaster. It's good to see you, brother. Time for new ownership. Current ownership is wasting my effing time. You're not wrong. And look, I'm not here to advocate. And I would say this even if I was on KMBR, and it's maybe one of the reasons I'm not anymore. But I'm looking at it going, the Warriors want to win. Whether they're going about it right, and I've said this a million times over the last few days with Steph Curry's situation, they're trying to win. It's difficult because the natural evolution of sports is you're up here, and the Warriors have been up here a lot longer than you normally should be up there. You throw the ball up, and it's just stayed up there. Good for them. But eventually it has to come down. Sports is about gravitation. You have to come down at some point. Now, the Dodgers don't because of the way the rules are, and it pisses people off, and I get it. So they don't have to come down for a long time the way that the rules are in baseball, because whether the Giants want to bitch and moan and cry and say that we don't want to go over a certain line, it's not prohibitive like basketball. It's just not. They take away certain things from you, like draft picks, but those draft picks are as more hit and miss than any other sport. More easily. I don't know what James Tibbs is going to be, and go through the time. Kyle Harrison, we all touted that. Kyle's got a ways to go. He's okay. But over the last number of years, the first round picks, I mean, Patrick Bailey is one that is hit. Ramos looks like he's going to be something if he's more first half last year than second half last year, but he's by no means a guarantee. But the rest of these guys, I mean, longtime Giants fans know this. Like, what happened to you, Chris Stratton, or what happened to you, Gary Brown, or what? I mean, they're the biggest crapshoot. NFL is the first round in the NFL is 50-50, whether you want to believe it or not. 50-50 for first rounders in the NFL. The NBA is far less than that. Baseball, are you kidding me? Like it's unbelievable how big of a crapshoot baseball is. So if you give up your X amount third or fourth round or sandwich picks or whatever the hell may be for a guy like, whoever, give me a guy, Bryce Harper and the guys they tried to get. But if you're getting a star versus a pick, you take that 100 times out of 100. I don't want to hear about the Giants saying, well, we can't give up this pick. We can't give up that pick. You have over the last number of years. I mean, it's a long cry from taking Matt Cain in the first round and Madison Bumgarner and Tim Lincecum. That was the backbone of you winning championships, all those picks. Well done. Well done. When's the last time you had a great position player prospect? You got Brandon Crawford in the fourth round and Brandon Belt and all those. That's why you won all those World Series. It's been a long time since then. The Dodgers do a nice job of drafting, but the majority of the time they take either their picks or players already in their system that they know are not hitting, and they trade them and they get better players. I don't remember what the players that win in the Mookie Betts trade. I've seen it at one time, but it's not. They didn't trade anybody that like, oh man, you shouldn't have traded that guy. I've told you this a million times. Philosophy of the show, and it's absolutely true. You can check it. When you get the best player in a trade, you win the trade 90% of the time or more. That's just how it goes. I get it. Carlos Beltran, Zach Wheeler. I get it. But more times than not, you get the better player, you win. That's how sports works. So anyway, I'll get off that. I'll get off the Giants and everything like that. I get it. It's offseason. There's NFL playoffs and a ton of stuff we have to get to today. I'm just saying, when I saw the Sasaki thing and then all the reaction to it and everybody all pissed off at the Dodgers, I'm like, look, I don't like the Dodgers either. But the Giants decide to be 13th in payroll. The Giants decide to be 13th in payroll. The Giants decide to have a glass ceiling on spending, even though the penalties aren't prohibitive like it is in the other sports. The Giants decide to tell Buster Posey that he can get Willie Adames because that'll turn some turnstiles and then just turn off the water. They decided to say to Corbin Burns, yeah, we're just not going to go over $200 million. We're not going to go over X amount of years. That's just how they do it. They decided to say, Kevin Gausman, I know you look really, really good, but 5-112 is too much for us. 5-112 for Kevin Gausman. Really? They resurrected him and said, and Farhan basically said, look what I did. Look at how smart I am. And then just said, 5 years. Oh, that's insane. We want 1 year outs, Carlos Rodon. And Rodon hasn't been a great signing with the Yankees, but you see what I'm getting at here. You don't sign Japanese players, even though you're on the West Coast with a population that would make them very happy to be here, and food and all the infrastructure that you would need in a lot of different ways that you could get Japanese players. And yet they're talking within the organization, according to Andrew Bagley, that maybe we just won't pursue those guys anymore. Look, that's a big time pipeline. It kind of started and trickled and was slow with Hideo Nomo, and it's kind of hit and miss with some players. That's an absolutely critical part of building your team. You have to get those players. And the international players, Luciano is this new guy that they just got who was the second best international prospect, which is 7-8 years from now when I'll likely be dead. And is he the next Luciano? We got excited for Luciano. We got excited for Bart. We got go on down the line. They haven't hit anything. So anyway, all right, I'm done. I keep saying I'm done and then I'm not done. But it pissed me off because it was like, damn Dodgers. I get it. Damn Giants. Do better. And this whole premise, sorry, I'm really sorry. But this whole premise of we just can't compete with the Dodgers. What are you talking about? Fourth largest media market in the country. I get it. You don't have the income that they have. Baseball is different. In the NFL, it's kind of all in one big pot. There's not a lot of local. Local radio doesn't pay a ton of money to the teams. It's all about the national revenue. And they all split it. So it's more fair. Baseball's not like that. 162 games. Most of those games are broadcast locally. So a lot of it is you're beholden to what you can get in your local radio and TV deals. And the way that the Giants are and the way that the Dodgers are, that's different. But there shouldn't be a difference so then the national money is all the same, but there shouldn't be a difference in, say, corporate sponsorships like LA to San Francisco. We have a lot of major money. To say that there's not enough money in the Bay Area, that's not true. It's not at all. And if you give us a decent or a product that we can go to, then we'll go. We've shown it before. But I will give Giants fans a ton of credit. We're not going to go and watch a bunch of crap. We're not going to go in there. We're not going to put 40,000 in the park. We're smarter than that. That's the one thing that maybe they're shortchanging too on the fan. You can get Willie Adames. That's cool. You can get Justin Verlander 5-10 years too late. That's cool. We're smarter than that. But you got to put a winning product on the field, and you got to have some continuity. The fans came out when you kept the continuity of Belt and Crawford and the pitching staff and Timmy and Matt Cain, but they just took that too far. And now it's time to rebuild this whole thing. Stop with the duct tape and all these different things. Stop with the Justin Verlander. Woo, 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 woo. Great name. 10 years too late. 5 years too late. All right. It's done. This time, I'm done. I'm done this time. All right, let's get to it. Saturday debut show, talked about that. Dodgers, we're done with that. Blame the Giants, done with that. What are people going to be? I should go out to the lines. Sorry. I just couldn't stop, man. I couldn't stop on this thing. It's driving me crazy. Blame the Dodgers. Blame the Giants for having the 13th highest payroll and saying that's enough. There's no cap. There's no cap. You have money. You just want to put it in your pocket. Get it out. I do feel better. And this is the Saturday show. This is the Saturday show. I wanted to be laid back today. There I am, starting with ranting and raving. And done with that. Done. Not even worth it. I'm done with it. I'm embarrassed that I got that angry. How's everybody doing on this Saturday? What are you up to? It is beautiful. I love being here on this Saturday. I really do. It's a good time had by all. Do remember, by the way, I haven't even started the show out. I haven't welcomed everybody to the show. It is John Lund Unleashed. Thanks for joining us. Please like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We have a podcast after the show as well. If you miss it, you can go out. You can check that out wherever you get your favorite podcast. We are live on X at John Lund Radio, live on Instagram at John Lund Radio. Please tell all your friends, grow the community, all those kind of things. We do have supers and all that you can get on automatically. Throw a couple of bucks to the show. We really appreciate it. And we have the insiders as well, the Lund Loyalists. And I will make sure, like, for example, yesterday I released some videos only to the Lund Loyalists. And so we make sure we're doing those things. We'll make it worth your while. And I think that's only like $5 a month. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being here on a Saturday, because a lot of people were like, look, I'm going to be here on a Saturday. So if you'll do the show, I'll do the show. So I did Krug this morning from like 9 to 10. And then we jumped in here. Gizmo is here. Let's see. Frisco Native 415. Tommy is here. Awesome. Let's ride. Good to see you, man. Let's see. Who else we have? Kyle is here, which is great. Pine Needle, I just popped up on there. So everybody is here. Tacky, it's great to see you. Let's see. What else do we have here? Anyway, good to see everybody today. Daniel is awesome. Good to see you. The Fake Surfer Bob. Good to see you, Fake Surfer Bob. Let's see what else we got here. Steve is awesome. Thank you so much for being here as well. So anyway, we'll have more fun today, and I won't rant and rave and get all angry. And it is a Saturday, so I don't want to get angry. I want to be laid back, even though my coffee is ice cold. I didn't have time to heat it up between Krug's show and our show. But anyway, let's move on. We do have NFL playoffs to discuss, and I am interested in how you will, let me pop this up here, on how you will look at the playoffs coming up this weekend. Here is our schedule today, just so that you can get your things done. Texans at Chiefs. I think the Texans will cover. The Chiefs will win. I know that we're all against Patrick Mahomes and rooting for DeMeco Ryans. They did a few years ago in 2019. The Texans got off to a 24-zip lead, and then the Chiefs came back in that season in which the Chiefs came back against everybody. I did work in Detroit, and I do think it's been a great season for the Commanders, and I give Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels and all those guys a ton of credit. And Adam Peters, that's really cool. But I think it's just going to be – the Lions, I think, are on a mission. That place is going to be crazy. I used to do pre-half and post for the Lions right on the concourse there, and it was just people walking by and bitching and moaning and hating the Lions. And so they are just so starved. I think that's going to be hell with Kansas City and Arrowhead and Seattle and those kind of places. That's a domed stadium, and I think it's just going to be so damn loud that I think it's going to overwhelm the Commanders. So I think the Lions are going to win and cover, 8.5, according to ESPN bet there. And then Sunday is going to be interesting because, and I want to get your thoughts on all these games and who you're rooting for and what do you think as I kind of quickly go through them. But I would take the Rams in an upset there against Philly because I don't have a ton of belief in Jalen Hurts, but it's going to be a snow game, which a lot of people love snow games. Love to get your thoughts on this. I'm not a snow game guy. Like I want two teams on a field that's not snowy or rainy or foggy or any of those kind of things. And I just want to see who's better. And I told you this story, I think the other day. I was in New York covering that Super Bowl 48 between the Broncos and the Seahawks. And all week long, they were talking about whether Sunday was going to snow or not. And it was freezing ass there and kind of miserable, even though it hasn't been back. I didn't love it. And I've probably covered, I don't know, 15 or so Super Bowls. I did not love it in New York. And the Sunday of the Super Bowl was completely clear. The Seahawks rolled the Broncos like 43-8. Remember, they had the snap over Peyton Manning's head right from there, and then it was just downhill for Denver. But then the next day we were flying out on that Monday, and it was the blizzard from hell. I mean, it was like just unbelievable. And so you had this massive blizzard that day, and everybody in the airport was like, oh, it would have been so cool if this would have been the Super Bowl yesterday. And I was like, no, it wouldn't have been. Like, I want to see a game where the elements don't determine who the winner is going to be. So I haven't looked at Philly's weather, which I probably should if somebody could do that for me, because I'm too lazy to do it. But so I'm looking at that game going, well, who's going to be better in the snow? I mean, you got Saquon Barkley there. We're going to talk Charles Barkley in a minute, but you got Saquon Barkley there, and I think maybe Philly's going to be better equipped with their big offensive line. But again, the Rams have been hot. The Rams have a good offensive and defensive line. Kyron Williams isn't horrible. If Sean McVay is smart, like the 49ers should have been in Buffalo, you do quick hitters out to your guys. So get Puka Nacua, for example, who's a good mutter. Get him going, throw him a swing pass so that he's already kind of going. I thought the Niners could have done more of that. They did a little bit to Garendo in that game, but they should do more. So he's creative. So I think that's going to be closer than what it looks like. I would take the Rams to cover the 6.5, but the Eagles to win the game. And if you're new to the show, if you bet against me, you could probably buy a new house, new boat, new wife, new everything, new significant other, because I'm generally wrong in these things. So take my advice and do the opposite. And then the Ravens and Bills, which is going to be the best game of the weekend, I think it's the Bills' year. I keep saying that. I think it's going to be the Bills' year. It's a 1.5 spread. I'd take the Bills across the board on that one. I just think they kind of have this magical thing going. They haven't lost at home this year. Now everything can change. You got Lamar Jackson. He can carry a team. He can get hot. But the one thing is, the Ravens are like the Niners in this way. They don't come back. So if the Bills can get out on them, the crowd goes absolutely bananas. All the fans are jumping on tables, being crazy, throwing dildos on the field and snowballs and ice balls and all this kind of stuff. And it can just kind of get ramped up. As great as Lamar is, they don't come back generally. And the one thing the Ravens won't do, which for some reason they did against Kansas City last year, they'll run the ball. I think they ran it from running backs last year, and their loss to Kansas City, it was 17-10. They ran it like 6 times. Like, John Harbaugh forgot to run the ball. What are you doing? So they ran it 6 times. That's not going to happen with Derrick Henry. So their hope is get out early, a quick turnover by the Bills, run Derrick Henry down their throat, win the game. But that's going to be the best game of the weekend. So give me your thoughts. Texans, Chiefs today, Commanders, Lions today, Rams, Eagles tomorrow, and Ravens, Bills. Most people, if it was an LA team, most people are like, hell with the LA team. But I think we hate the Eagles worse than the Rams. Am I accurate in that? I mean, if this was the Lakers, if this was the Dodgers, we wouldn't root for them. But I mean, the Rams, I don't know. I don't take offense to the Rams. I almost feel like I'd like to have a West Coast team win. So yeah, I'm probably pulling for the Rams. I don't hate the Rams like I hate the other LA teams. I don't know. You can give me your thoughts on that. But tell me what you think about the weekend, and not only the weekend, but what are you going to do? Like, what are you doing? Are you hanging out? Are you making this a priority? Or are you like, no, you don't know that story? No, I said that because you don't know that story. Bills fans throw those on the field, and then the officials have to pick them up, and they think it's funny. Watch. Maybe they won't show them on TV, but that's the truth. 100%. 100%. They throw them on the field, and then they think, especially in the playoffs, and they think it's funny that the officials have to go and pick them up. That's kind of that's a Bills thing. Back me up on that. People know that, right? Oh, you do? Wow, I didn't know that. You hate the Rams more. So I don't know. I mean, I think the Rams are going to be a pain in the See, I know you people know me because people are starting to put some stuff on the chat line, and they know that I'm going to go off on a tangent. I wonder is this a thing that you guys have talked about that is this a thing you've talked about that you try to throw me off? Because when people put stuff out there, they know they're going to throw me off, and then we're going to go off on tangents. But I'm going to stay focused. I will go on a tangent at some point. You see the bottom there of the chalkboard where it says random stuff, and then the caboose. I do have a caboose today, but I have random stuff just happens. So even though random stuff is at the bottom, random stuff is going to happen throughout the show. So I just put it at the bottom just so you know. Tommy says he's an Eagles fan for tomorrow. See, I don't like the Eagles. I'm not an Eagles guy. I'm not. So I know they're playing the Rams. I realize that the Rams are from LA, but it's just I can't root for the Eagles. Like you ever been to an Eagles game with the 49ers? You're walking through there like, and I was just a media member with a pass on, and they're looking at my pass going, 49. They're just losing their mind. And it's like, what? Get away from me. What is wrong with you? It's crazy. Like I've told you about the East Coast, man. The weather's terrible. If the Eagles lose, it's like, what do we do now? 76ers suck. They have to wait till Philly season. That just makes them angry. Oh, you're a Philly fan. I see what you're saying there. Fly, Eagles, fly. You're an Eagles guy. Look, I'm not mad at you as an Eagles fan. And like individually, people are very cool, and then they get in a group, and it's like, okay. Let's see, what else do we have on the line here? Make sure I'm not missing anything, and then I'll pop over to this other Barkley. Do people like snow games? By the way, I'm 100% wrong in that. I mean, it's cool to watch and cool to look at and all that kind of things, but a lot of times the better team just doesn't win. It's just a matter of who's better. Look at that WIP. That's funny. WIP in Philadelphia. They hate me. I keep calling in. They put me on. I trash them and give them a taste of their own medicine. Yeah, it's a different deal there. I had a program director that I actually worked for that had worked in Philadelphia, and he just wanted to pound calls and yell and scream. And I'm like, yeah, that's not me, bro. That was my program director in Detroit. At the end, they switched, and it was like, we're just taking calls and we're yelling and screaming. We hate everything. And I'm like, that's not really that's not really my gig. So then I left. I was like, this isn't what I want to do. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining the show on a Saturday. John Lund Unleashed. Let's move from the playoffs to this Charles Barkley thing. Let me get this up on the screen. And I realize the whole Charles being Charles thing. I understand that. I like Charles Barkley. I think that the NBA on TNT, the Inside the NBA show, is right now by far the best studio show there is, and it might be a top 3, top 5 of all time. There's no question. Love it. I'm on board with most things Charles says. I know that a lot of things that Charles says are for show and for fun, and he was, even before all these talking head ESPN and Fox shows and everything, he just would say things, but he believes them. That's the difference. I work for ESPN. A lot of times it's like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. I worked for ESPN radio, and you take this side, I mean, it's absolutely choreographed. You take this, you take that. It's boring when everybody agrees. So let's do this. And you would have a pre-production show where they would tell you, like, this is, what angle do you want to take here? What angle do you want to take here? What angle? Even if you didn't believe it, it was like, this is just what makes good radio or good TV. And that's how they do it. That's not what Barkley is doing. Charles Barkley, what he says is what he believes. He doesn't oftentimes pay attention to the game, and he doesn't have to. I mean, it's an entertainment show. Sports is about entertainment. I'm totally cool with it. No problem. But with the All-Star game coming up in San Francisco at Chase Center next month, and knowing, and you can look at these numbers, and I'm not trying to make this a political conversation because I know where that goes. We're the toy box. It's sports. We don't want to get into politics here. I'm not trying to. But I know this for a fact, that San Francisco is no different than any other major city. We have lower crime rates than any other city. But for some reason, ever since the pandemic, and we have not bounced back. I went into the city until 2 months ago. I went into the city most every single day. And where I was roughly in the North Beach area of San Francisco, it hasn't bounced back. But a lot of areas, I know lots of friends who live in the city. I went into the city on the weekends all the time. My wife's brother and his family live in the city. So I've been all over the city, and I know that there are a lot of places and a lot of areas of the city that are actually thriving. Now, there are some that are not, and I understand that. But what people are believing nationally versus what is reality, and especially some of these major cities, LA, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, we're all facing the same thing. I mean, if you read anything and not just listen to what people say, they're all facing the same thing, whether it be crime rates or having trouble bouncing back since the pandemic. No city is the same. None of them have bounced back. But for some reason, San Francisco is getting the worst reputation of them all, even though if you look at the stats and you look at the numbers, we're not worse than any other major city that is out there. Some of the major cities that I just talked about. We're not there in crime rates and all the different things. We're not. But for some reason, we're getting the target on us, what feels like, maybe I'm 100% wrong in this, but from a national standpoint, we're constantly getting trashed as the city that is the most out of control, which is just not accurate. So with that as kind of the backdrop, and now the city is trying to market itself for the NBA All-Star game, and this certainly isn't helping. And this isn't just Charles being Charles. Charles Barkley slams San Francisco is rat-infested, declares he's skipping NBA All-Star game. Good. Get out. And if I'm the Warriors, it's, how it's, no, I fired you. No, I quit. I fired you. No, I quit. Just say he's not welcome. Like if I'm the Warriors, they can revoke passes to anybody. Now, would that be a big deal? Would that be a smart thing with TNT? Probably not. But this isn't Charles being Charles. This is just Charles being an asshole. And this is a guy that, he lives in Phoenix. He lives in Philly. There's bad pockets everywhere, man. We all know that. I told you the story. When I was in Detroit for the Super Bowl, I lived in Detroit. And they tried to spin it every way possible. They wrapped burned out buildings. They mazed us everywhere. I mean, literally put up places where it forced you to go to certain places and stay away from others. They painted all their graffiti. They literally took bus loads of homeless people for that Super Bowl and bussed them out of town and paid them to stay away. And then when the circus left town, the Super Bowl, they unwrapped the buildings. They brought back the homeless. All this, hell went back to being the hell that it was. And I know the city's gotten better in Detroit, but they had cops on every single corner. They didn't want any problems. And so that's what they did in that city. And it wasn't made a big deal, but Detroit's sitting there going, we have this horrible reputation. At the time they had this mayor, his name was Kwame Kilpatrick. I don't know if he's done his prison sentence, but he was sent to prison for all these corrupt things that he did to the city. So it's not like Detroit was better. It's not like New York is better. And I'm not trashing any of these cities. I don't know intricately these cities. I don't live there. But I do know that San Francisco is no worse and certainly better than a lot of these cities. But a guy like Charles Barkley, who for some reason people listen to, and they put him on political shows just like they do Screaming A, which is like, these guys don't even know sports. And you're going to put them on a stage for politics? My God, are you insane? So Charles hardly pays attention to the NBA, and it's an entertainment show, and I love it. I take it for what it is. I understand what it is. I want to see them laugh. I want to see Shaq do something stupid. I want to see Shaq fall running to the board. Like, I understand what it is. And again, I'm not trying to get too serious on Charles Barkley, but if he wants to skip the NBA All-Star game, and if I'm the Warriors, and if I'm the city of San Francisco, I do him one better. You're not welcome, man. Stop trashing our city. Look at the numbers. Like they throw you on CNN. Do you have any clue? No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Go look at the numbers. They're not worse. So I'm just saying, if you're trying to promote a basketball game, if you're trying to promote your city, if you're trying to promote your city is bouncing back, which everybody knows it hasn't. I get it. But I've gone there. I go down there a lot. I go down there on the weekends. I went down there for years in the North Beach area. Before that, we were on 3rd and Howard. I've been to the city a ton of times. I know what it was and I know what it is. And I know what it isn't. And so, yeah, we've had a lot of discussions over the years on sports radio, you and I, whether it be on KMBR or 95.7 The Game, about what the city is and what it isn't. And the parking situation and how you feel safe. And look, I'm not saying it's perfect, but I am saying it's not what Charles Barkley is making it out to be. And if you have any balls, if you're the NBA or if you're the Warriors, if you have any balls whatsoever, we don't want you to come. Like, it's not Charles being Charles. You're just being an asshole. I don't know what it is. He's never liked the Warriors in terms of the jump shooting thing. They're never going to win a championship. So maybe that's the egg on his face, because the whole league is what Charles Barkley said would never win a championship all those years ago. Some jump shooting pretty boy teams not going to win a championship. Well, the Warriors were never that in their prime. They were tough. They played defense. They did a lot of different things, and everybody just kind of laughed after a while that, look, the guy's just not paying attention. They're not just a jump shooting team. Well, now teams are. They just jack 53s a game, and it's a totally different game, and maybe he doesn't like it, and it's one of those get off my lawn situations. I don't know. And I don't hate Charles Barkley. I don't dislike Charles Barkley. But the message of San Francisco being this rat-infested, like, it's gotten old, man. It's every major city. The cities have not bounced back from the pandemic, and some cities were never that great before the pandemic. We get it, man. It's not what it was. But it's sure as hell not what you're making it out to be. And at some point, wouldn't you say, if you're the NBA, like, dude, it's enough. Like, we have the All-Star game coming up in a month. Enough. Like, stop it. We're trying to promote an event here that is important to us. And if you don't want to come, we don't want you here. And like I said, if I was, and that's a recent statement. I mean, he said this a million times, but that's recent. Oops, that's Draymond Green. That's recent. And so it's like it's not funny. It's not Charles being Charles anymore. It's not funny. And so if you're the league, if you're the Warriors, like, if I'm the Warriors, I am pissed. This is one of the major voices in the media for the NBA, and you're trashing the city where the All-Star game is going to be. Not cool. Oh, that's Charles being Charles. Like, he's funny, man. I love the show, and I'm not going to stop watching it. But that's enough of that. Like, if you're the NBA, how are you allowing that to continue to be a narrative that is just like Charles being Charles? Ha, ha, ha. No, man. It's not. And it is. It goes back to, you have egg all over your face Because not only did the Warriors win as this pretty jump shooting team, as you called them so years ago, but also just all the teams do it. Like all the teams do it. And all these old guys are pissed off. Oh, you're not kicking it down to the center. And they found a better way. And it's not always pretty. I don't love it. I don't love jacking threes constantly, but it's the way the game is. And if somebody came up with a better idea that made sense from an analytic standpoint, which is where everything is, what's better than shooting a three? Look at the shooting percentage. Look at all the things. It's not aesthetically pleasing. I get it. But that's the way the game is. And some of these older guys are like, well, when I played, we're all kind of like that. When I played, it was better. When my heroes growing up were better. When I did business, it was better. All these numbers, all the technology, it is better. The game's better. The athletes are better. The guys jump out of the gym. The guys can shoot better. They're not going to go back to the days of dumping it down to Wilt Chamberlain or Patrick Ewing or Hakeem Olajuwon or David Robinson. Look, those were great days. I covered the league when they did that. There was a lot of great players, but they've evolved the game. Deal with it. But to continue to trash a specific city, I can't believe that the NBA is allowing this in the year that the NBA All-Star Game is in San Francisco. And not only that, he's as inaccurate with that portrayal of this city as he is with a lot of his NBA takes and certainly his political takes, which I understand why CNN puts him on because there's eyeballs and whatever Charles says makes headlines. But that's just the last one. And look, I laugh at Barkley. It's Charles being Charles. Some guys can get away with things because he's established it, and give him credit. He's established what he is and who he is, and he can say whatever he wants. If Kenny Smith started to be Charles Barkley, there would be outrage. But it's Charles being Charles, and so he gets away with it. But if I'm the Warriors, I don't think it's funny anymore. Like if I'm the Warriors, I go to the league. If I'm the Warriors, I go public. I release a statement that, you know what? He isn't welcome here. Like it's enough. He's not welcome. If I'm the NBA, I do it. But if I'm the Warriors, like grow a pair, man. If I'm Joe Lacob, I'm not down with it, man. I don't think it's funny. And you know what's going to happen? He is going to come here because they're going to make him come here. And then Draymond Green's going to go on the stage and laugh, ha ha ha. Like if I was Draymond Green, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like it's become too chummy with that whole thing. Like I get it, man. But if I'm Draymond Green and I get a chance to sit on the same stage as Charles Barkley, you absolutely have to call him out on that and be like, bro, this is where I've been my whole career. I think Draymond Green thinks it's okay here. They have tremendous fans. The Warrior fans through thick and thin have stuck with his team. This is a great, beautiful new arena. It's in a good part of the city. It's in a growing part of the city. Look, a lot of cities are like this. Anyway, I'm done. Another rant. I read that today and I went, dude, we're a month away from the All-Star game. And I guess this is going to be blown off as Charles being Charles. Like Charles being Charles, there he is, trashes us again. It's cool. Rat infested. Like, okay. No other cities like that. What else do we have on the chalkboard today? By the way, I'll get out to the comments in just a sec. I'm very ranty today on a Saturday. That's not like me. I'm very ranty today. I want to get off that. I want to stop it. I want to stop that stuff. I'm curious how you feel. I like him, man. I do like him. I do like Barkley. I do like the show, but this is stupid. Like enough already, dude. He's not trashing other cities like that. There's tons of cities. I mean, way worse. Anyway. We went through NFL playoffs. We went through Barkley. Wiz in town tonight, which is interesting because I said this on Krug Show about a year ago. I covered this game. I think it was in December because my son was in town. And all this discussion of Jordan Poole. And it's funny because the Warriors are sitting there going, God, we need more. We need more. We need more. Well, remember how they said this week, this big discussion point of the Warriors has been, don't want to mortgage the future. Well, where were you when you traded Jordan Poole for Chris Paul and you mortgaged the future? Like that's mortgaging the future. I don't know if it's something like we learned our lesson, but Jordan Poole's having a much better year. The Wiz are terrible. I'm not advocating trading for him again, but this whole 2 timeline thing that they just won't get rid of. Like we can't trade Kuminga, and we can't trade Pods, and we can't trade Moody, even though we won't play Moody. I mean, when you make a decision, you just say, okay, we're going to do the 2 timeline thing. We're just going to see this out. But then, and I'm not saying Wiseman's going to be good. I mean, I think he tore his Achilles. He was in Indiana. I think he lost his confidence. I think that's just the biggest thing that happened to him. And I think he's young enough to regain it back, not to be what we thought he was going to be as a second overall pick, but They gave up on Wiseman. They traded Jordan Poole because they sided with Draymond Green punching his teammate in the face. They have Kuminga still. They don't have enough young guys to do what they're saying. They already, once you make a decision in life, that's the direction you're going, and especially as an organization. So I look at when they traded Jordan Poole for whatever reason they did, which is, again, they couldn't coexist on this team, for Chris Paul, they made a decision to mortgage their future. And now they're saying they won't mortgage their future. I was having a conversation last night. It might be jaded because it was over cocktails, but about what they should do here. And I did a show yesterday. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it on YouTube or on my X page at John Lund Radio. But we were having this conversation about how serious it would be that they could trade Curry. Like, would they really do that? Now, I think Joe Lacob would rather do a lot of things to himself than trade Steph Curry. But at some point, it may just get to it where it's like, look, and Steph said this wasn't just, and Steph is smart. We know that. I mean, I'm giving you the blatantly obvious thing here. Steph is smart, but also when Steph says something in a post-game situation, he's not just blurting it out. You have to read. It's kind of like watching a movie. When you watch a movie and you're like, oh, that's foreshadowing. Oh, that's foreshadowing. Oh, that's foreshadowing. So you just kind of, you're building the movie. Let's say you're watching a suspenseful movie and you look at it and you go, okay, I'm just going to kind of put that in the back of my mind because I know they're foreshadowing on that thing. When Steph the other night said, if you think that I want to be on an average basketball team, you're crazy. Well, how can they not be an average basketball team moving forward? They say they don't want to mortgage their future. So I'll take them for that. And again, as a show philosophy, I just assume everybody's lying because that's just what everybody means. And it's different. Again, we talk about this thing about sports and reality. If you call somebody a liar in reality, that's a really damning thing to do. Like, you're talking to somebody and you're like, bro, you're a liar. You're a flat liar. Like, them are fighting words, right? You're a liar. Those are kind of fighting words. But in sports, it's accepted to be a liar, if that makes sense. Like John Lynch, I've talked about this at the end of the year press conference. Yeah, I don't think they're lying about Brock. They love Brock, so they want to sign him. But Debo, he said, we're not in the business of letting good players go. I think they're going to let Debo go. I don't know that they're going to re-sign Dre Greenlaw, but they're not going to tell you exactly what they're going to do because they can't. And then you get around the draft and it's lying season, and free agency is lying season. And it's how it is. And then when they say something and then the opposite happens, they always go, some things changed. We had to they can kind of finagle their way out of it. But I think it's an acceptable notion that in sports, which is far different than reality, that there's lying, that lying happens, right? Lying does happen. So in the 49ers case, it's the end of the year press conference. They're not going to tell you everything. Did you hear what? And we fall into this trap so much as a media. Well, John Lynch said this, and Kyle Shanahan said that, and Joe Lacob said this, and Steve Kerr said that, and et cetera down the line. I don't have to go through every team, but you get what I'm saying. That's the way it is. I can't tell you what I'm thinking all the time because if I actually told you the truth, then everybody around the league knows what I'm trying to do, and you can't do that. You've got to appease the media in some way. They ask you a direct question. As of that moment, how many times have you heard an owner or a GM or president of baseball operations or president of whatever say, at the time that was the case, but what happened was this changed and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of times we've been kind of, because of our upbringing, lying is bad, but lying in sports is not bad. You have to lie. It's just kind of how things work. So let's go back to foreshadowing and lying. When the Warriors say that they don't want to mortgage their future, I don't necessarily agree with that because there's two things going on. To mortgage the future means that you're appeasing Steph Curry. Well, I think they should appease Steph Curry, and I think they should do everything because there's never going to be another Steph Curry. There's never going to be another Steph Curry. Never for this organization. There's never going to be anyone from a national standpoint, NBA standpoint, to change the game so dramatically in the way that it's played now. All these threes without Steph Curry, that's not happening. The deep three's not happening. Big guys aren't shooting threes. I don't need to explain that to you. You understand. But also from an organizational standpoint, to take this team from $450 million to $9.1 billion, that's never going to happen again. And you build an arena. All that's on Steph. All that is Steph. So you're never going to have a game changer as far as the way the game is played from NBA level. And you're never going to have not only a player like Steph Curry, but a CEO like Steph Curry, a team leader like Steph Curry, just in every element. If you had to draw up a player from A to Z who would be a number one representative of your organization it would be Steph Curry. He would be the dictionary definition. Jordan was great, but he was kind of a gambler and had problems, and maybe he wasn't suspended and had to go play baseball. Or LeBron James is, he's a lot of people, the self-promotion and the crown thing. You can't deny how great he's been from a basketball standpoint, but a lot of people just don't like him. I'm bringing my talents to South Beach. He hasn't had a lot of transgressions, but enough where enough people just are like, the guy's kind of an ass. The only thing you can say about Steph Curry is you're not a Warriors fan and he's ripped your heart out a million times and you hate him. But then he had the opportunity in the Olympics and you liked him. You loved him. He saved America. He saved basketball in America. Like, you can't, there's really nothing. You don't like his shimmies here and there if you're a Cleveland fan or a Houston fan or a Clippers fan, but at the end of the day, you're like, he's pretty cool. He's pretty great. He says all the right things. But when he comes out and he says, I don't want to be on an average basketball team, you're crazy if you think I want to be on an average basketball team. But if the Warriors are telling the truth, which they're not, and saying that they're not going to mortgage the future, but they have no choice because they want to appease Steph, what are you going to do? So if you're telling the truth in this whole, we're not mortgaging our future, which the only asset is either picks or Jonathan Kuminga, there's nothing else worth not mortgaging, then Steph Curry's going to be on an average basketball team. So what's it going to be? Are you going to be in an average basketball team, or are you going to go all in on Steph? I think they should go all in on Steph. I've made that known a million times, but then Steph Curry's going to leave. So I started this whole conversation on something I talked about yesterday, which is, can you trade Steph Curry? Well, when he comes to Joe Lacob, and here's the thing, Joe may think in the back of his mind right now, and this is, again, where I'll go back to lying and not telling the truth or stretching the truth or however we want to term this thing. But Joe Lacob right now, let's say you and I were having a drink with Joe Lacob. We're sitting there at some fancy place. Nobody else can get in there. And we're having, I don't know, what do you want to have? Old fashioned? Time is it? 11:28. Could have a Bloody Mary, whatever you like. So we have this cocktail. It's very fancy. It's in some kind of a gold cup I'm envisioning, and we're having this great time. And I'm kind of at a place, pool or pond to be nice for you. So I'm a little out of place here, but okay, we're with Joe. And he is emphatic to you and I am not trading Steph Curry. There's no way. And I believe him. I believe him at that very moment. I believe him. But reality is that when Steph Curry comes to him, or more so his representation, because he's not going to go face to face with Joe, and his representation says, look, Joe, this is a really delicate situation, and Steph wants to come back to the organization and be a part owner, and all of his formative years have been here, and he loves it here, and this is no reflection on the organization, and he wants to be back. However, this is an average basketball team. You guys have decided that you don't want to mortgage your future, your Kuminga, your first-round picks. Steph disagrees with that, but he doesn't want to do this publicly, so he's requesting a trade to a contender, and let's just make this as painless as possible. And then Joe, his first reaction is absolutely not, just like when we were having a drink with him, remember? Absolutely not going to do it, can't trade Steph. But you have to, because for what he's done for the organization, you have to honor his request. You have to. If you're Joe Lacob, you have to. So did Joe Lacob stomps out of there, hangs up the phone, or whatever he does. And then for a minute, he thinks about it. Then he calls his marketing team and his people and all the people that he trusts. And he says, all right, we got to trade Steph Curry. How are we going to spin this? What players can we bring in? How are we going to market it? How are we going to make it so that the season ticket holders don't cancel all their tickets and leave in an outrage and all these kind of things? How are we going to spin it? He looks at the PR person. How are we going to write this? How are we going to do this? This is nearly impossible, but it's what Steph wants, and we have to honor it. And Steph's going to come back within the organization, and I'm going to sell him a part of the team. And he's going to bet for 2 years here, or whatever the end of his career is, 1 year, 2 years. We owe it to him. He's going to chase a ring, and we're just not in that place, because that's where reality is right now. They're not in that place. They're not going to be in that place in Steph's lifetime, and the rest of his, I should say, not lifetime, in his Warriors career. They're not going to be there. You and I have discussed this a lot. There's not a trade. There's not a trade that's going to fix the Warriors. There's not a player. I think they need a stretch five, whether that's Vucevic or whether some people have talked about Miles Turner, or like add that guy to the team. Understand that whatever that money is that those guys are making, I don't know, $20 million plus has to go out, has to come off the team. So is that Andrew Wiggins? Is that Looney and Wiggins? Is that whatever the case may be? Is that GP2? Like, not that I'm really worried about losing a lot of those guys, but Wiggins probably has to be a part of most trades. If you don't want Kuminga to be part of the trade, then it's Wiggins. So I'm not saying that Wiggins is a multi-time, and this, that, or the other, but he's having a really nice season. So you are losing something in him and some of the depth that you're going to have to lose. And so now you bring in, I don't know, Vucevic. Okay, he's a stretch 5. He had 40 points, I think, last night. He's a nice player. But is that better than Oklahoma City? Or if you get out of here, is it better than Boston? Or it's not. So now you're looking at the situation going, okay, it still didn't work. And we went all in as we possibly could. And now Steph's still sitting here on a mediocre team. And this is not going to be done at the deadline. I'm not advocating that because of the complexities of having to trade Steph. This is an off-season thing. And this is not, so he would finish the year here. And then at the end of the season, he would objectively look at this team and say, guys, it's not working. It's time to blow it up. So Draymond goes somewhere. Steph goes somewhere. Probably Wiggins goes somewhere. And you take Kuminga and you take all these picks and you think, okay, we're going to rebuild this thing. You're going to take the hit at the box office and the tickets and all these things. And you're going to try to market this thing. And you're going to have a giant slogan. Hang in there. I almost did too high. Hang in there. No, voice isn't working today. And I drink this coffee, but it's cold. So, yeah, you do some kind of hang in there slogan that people can see right through. And, you hope the corporate sponsors stay and everything. And you got about a 3 to 5 year window where you try to build this thing back up. So that's maybe where they are. So give me your thoughts. I didn't know that I was going to go on that tangent. I started with Wiz in town. Oh, that started with Jordan Poole because it did start with Jordan Poole. It's like, look, you made the decision. Sometimes in life, you make a decision. Okay, I'm going down path A. And then path B becomes better later, but you can't get back to path B, and you got to make the best you can with path A. You decided to trade Jordan Poole. You decided to side with Draymond Green. Not a bad choice, but you decided to go down and stay in the Draymond Green business, which meant you're staying in the Steph Curry business, which meant you're staying in the old team business, and you couldn't do that 2-timeline thing. And whatever you think of Jordan Poole with Jonathan Kuminga, with and giving Moody time and all that kind of stuff, that's a better situation for the long term. So my point in the whole A versus B road, you've already made the decision. You've already mortgaged the future. Chris Paul got you nothing in return, and you gave up Jordan Poole, who you normally get the kind of production that Jordan Poole gave you with the 28th overall pick in the draft. You just don't. Is he flawed? Yeah. But is he better than having Chris Paul on your team or nothing from Chris Paul? You basically said, Jordan Poole, one season we get Paul, you knew you were too old anyway, and you gave it away. So you went down we are mortgaging our future path already. It's already done. You already decided that. And now you're saying, no, we're not going to do that now. That goes back to the whole 2-timeline thing. You can't be both. You're one or the other. So make a full decision that you're behind Steph, or make a full decision that you're going to be young. And you trade Steph and you take the bullets, and the fans get mad and the numbers drop and you don't get on TV anymore. That's, again, I say this all the time. It's the natural progression of sports. You're great. You're not great. Unless you're the Dodgers. We can go back to that whole conversation if you're new to the show, and you can do all the things that the Dodgers do. But I'm not, again, if you're new here, if you just joined us, I'm not blaming the Dodgers on that. They got a great organization. Sorry to say it. They put everything together and everybody goes, God, that's where I want to play. They defer money. The Giants could do that. They're at the top of the payroll. The Giants could do that. They decide not to. All right, we're done with that. We're down to random stuff. Anybody want to send me off on a tangent? What do we got here? Who wants to send me off on a tangent somewhere? I was going to tell a story at the end of Krug Show. If you're in there, I did Krug Show today from 9 to 10, and we were talking about New Orleans. Let me see I had a New Orleans story that I was going to tell. I saved it because I was going to tell the New Orleans story now. So I'm trying to, what was it that I was talking about with Krug? If you were in the Krug Show, we were talking about New Orleans at the end. I wonder if I can't tell that story. What story was I going to tell in New Orleans? I can't remember. Anyway, because I'm not going to be at the Super Bowl in New Orleans this year. My son actually is, and it's the best. I mean, it's the best. I've probably covered 15 Super Bowls, some in cold weather cities like New York and Detroit and Indianapolis. Covered them in Miami, covered them in LA. Where else? New York, I think I already said. San Diego, I've covered Super Bowls, like whatever, LA, here. The best one's New Orleans. I mean, by a mile. If you've never been to New Orleans is incredible. And I know what happened the last couple of weeks ago. I totally understand that. But Bourbon Street to Frenchman Street to the food, the best way I can, if you haven't been there before, the best way that I can describe it is that it has a large element of the debauchery that you have in Las Vegas, But Las Vegas has like a cheese factor to it. It's kind of cheesy and cheap, and it's gotten better over the last number of years, but it still has that kind of cheesy, cheap vibe that everybody's trying to rip you off. New Orleans is older, and it's just got a feel to it, just a really cool old feel to it. So it's different in Vegas in that way. The food is much better, although I will give Vegas credit. Vegas has really stepped up its food game, and the prices to match, by the way. The prices in Vegas used to be great. You could get cheap food. You could get cheap drinks. They knew that you were going to lose a bunch of money gambling, so they were kind of like, eh. And the restaurants were just okay. And now the restaurants are through the roof. You can get anything you want. Food is absolutely amazing, but the bill to match. And Lund seems to stay better on the weekends. Yeah, I don't know. I got on 2 rants today. I never get on. I got on a Giants rant. If you missed it a little bit earlier, I got on a Barkley rant today. I just got on a Steph one. I know it's not. I got to have more fun here. I can't do that. Yeah, he skills. Seems to stay on point. Not that we mind the stories. Yeah, I just I wanted to go on a little bit of a story here. Haven't looked yet. Sorry, like I said, I always pop these 2 up at a time because they're right next to each other because the thing keeps moving, and then I pop one and it's moved, and so then I get another person up there. But yeah, the only thing I'm saying about New Orleans, and a lot of people probably have been to New Orleans, it just has an older feel than Vegas. The place like Patty O'Brien's and all these, and it is definitely more debauchery just because everybody's always walking down Las Vegas Boulevard and all that kind of stuff, but they're not in the middle of the road. When they do it right, which is most of the time, Bourbon Street is completely closed off, and it's a really good time. And everybody knows about the beads and the flashing and all that kind of stuff. They don't have near the restaurants on Bourbon. It's just kind of debauchery on Bourbon Street. And then the restaurants are kind of all around, and it's just the food is just phenomenal, especially if you like seafood. But they're the same in this because I've been there for New Year's covering bowl games, and I've been there for Super Bowls. But this much is very similar to Vegas. Is that just after a couple of 2-3 days, you want to go. Like, you're just like, I'm exhausted. In fact, Super Bowl 47, when I was covering it for the Niners and the Ravens, by the Saturday night before the Super Bowl, so that's supposed to be the most fun night of the week, and I had been there since the previous Sunday, so we had been there like 9-10 days, and we stayed and we did our show that Monday after the Niners lost that Super Bowl. We were at a radio station in New Orleans, Papa and I, and we did the show on that Monday. And so we had been in New Orleans 10 days, just like last year we had been in Vegas for the Niners and the Chiefs 10 days. And I just couldn't. That Monday we did a show from Vegas last year after they lost the Super Bowl, and I was ready. Like, I was like, we got to go. And it's the same thing in New Orleans. Like, in New Orleans is maybe even worse because you eat so much, and it's the same as Vegas. Like, nothing really gets going till midnight. So you're having food in New Orleans 12, 1, 2 in the morning. Like, all the restaurants are open really late. So you're having food late, you're drinking late. My show in New Orleans, they're 3 hours past. So Pop and I think we're doing midday starting at like noon then. We're on 95.7. So we were starting at 3 so you could sleep in. And then when you get done with your show at like 7 New Orleans time, 7 East, you'd go take a nap for an hour or something, and you wouldn't even, and then you'd go eat at maybe like 10 o'clock, and then you'd drink, and you'd stay out till 3, 4 in the morning like it was nothing. But in both places, you're just like, I got to go. Like, I cannot wait to get on the plane. Now, the only difference is when you're going to Vegas, you're home in like an hour and a half. New Orleans, you're all the way across the country. So I just remember being so lucky because there was nobody in my row, and I just laid down there, and I was one of those jerks that had like, I did at least have my feet towards the window. But there were other people who were sleeping, and they like, don't put your feet towards the aisle. Like, that's disgusting. But I did have my shoes off, and I did it, but I had my feet towards the window. So my head was towards the aisle. And it was like, all of a sudden I just woke up like, wow. What recipe are you talking about? So somebody just said, see, this is the tangent part. This is the random stuff part of the show. No, that's not it. Come on, man. This thing starts to move. Write that recipe down and give it to your wife. What's the recipe? Show it to me again. What do we got? Oh, we were talking about fry sauce the other day. You're talking about, is that what you're talking about? Tiger sauce? Lund, your son is in New Orleans, would be incredible on Bourbon Street. Yeah, he just turned 21 too. And I'm trying to get, you're in that, you probably know this if you have kids. You're in that space where I decided a long time ago, probably a senior in high school, I just said it's up to him. Like, I've given him all the advice. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but I wanted him to start to be on his own. And when he needs advice, it's not like I've pulled the plug on him or cut the cord or anything like that. But it's like, I'm not going to hover. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. So I've tried to kind of give him some of the things, but I've done the same thing. One of the first things I ever covered was a regional or a Final Four or something in New Orleans. It was 1997, I think it was 98, something like that. And I went on Bourbon Street and I was by myself. So my station sent me. This is a great story. This is a good story. This one just popped in my head, and it is absolutely positively able to be said here. So I'm there for the first time, and I'm just like wide-eyed, right? And my hotel room is right next to the Superdome, and so I'm covering a Final Four right next to the Superdome. I mean, I literally could walk out my hotel and within 2 minutes be in the Superdome to cover these games. And you know how the tournament works. You know, I was there for the Final Four, but also I've done regional games and everything. So you're there basically all day long. And so I'm out. You know, I'm living it up on Bourbon Street. I'm out till 6 a.m. The sun's coming up. I'm going back to my hotel. For the first couple of days, it was fine, no problem. I could, you know, and I'm young at that time. I don't know, 21, 22. I just very similar to the age of my son's going to be here in about a month, going there, and so I can handle it. I handle it. But one day, what day was it? It wasn't the day of the Final Four. It was before that. But anyway, I'm there and I'm supposed to be at, you know, covering these games. And it was the most hungover I've probably been. I mean, it is just pounding in my head. And I didn't care because, you know, you're on a, you know, the company's paying for stuff. So I remember rating all the food in the hotel and drinking like there was Cokes. And, you know, I'm really hungover. Like I wouldn't drink a Coke normally, but like Coca-Cola, and I'm sucking down water. And I mean, I've cleared the whole thing out. I'm so hungover. And I've got to get to the arena, which is right next to the hotel, 2-minute walk. And I tried to get up a number of times. I'm like, I can't do it. So you've probably heard this where on ESPN radio nationally, they have these things where a guy calls in, hey, 3:22 left in the first half. North Carolina leads Kentucky 62-59. Vince Carter's got 16 points, you know, whatever. So you've heard those things. Hey, let's, you know, they're doing ESPN radio on the weekend, and they're like, hey, let's check in with John Lund. He's in New Orleans at the Superdome with the Elite Eight. And so, you know, then I'm supposed to do a report. I was so hungover that day. It was a Saturday. There's a bunch of games on. I was so hungover that day that I had to do the calls from my hotel room, and I was looking at the Superdome. So they had to wonder why it was so quiet, because when you throw to somebody, you can hear the like the horns in the background, and you hear the bustle and the hustle of, you know, you're at a game. Now, if you did it from Levi Stadium or something, it's totally encased and enclosed, so it would be quiet. But not at college basketball games, you're hearing the band, all that stuff. It's in the background. There's no background in my hotel room. I'm completely hungover. My head is like a train hit it. And this is when I'm young. This is not like old guy. This is when I'm young. And so, you know, so I do the reports. You know, somebody's doing ESPN radio. Let's throw it to the New Orleans Superdome. And with, you know, 8:22 left in the second half, Kentucky and North Carolina. And I'm like, you know, on my phone, yes, with 6:22 left in the first half. So I did my reports all day from there, and nobody said anything. And I was like, that can never happen again. And then I think it was a Saturday. By Sunday, I was there. But, you know, I have friends in the industry, and they're like, dude, I heard you doing those updates, man. You weren't here. I'm like, shh. Don't say that. So anyway, yeah, it was. You ever had that kind of a hangover where you're just like, man? I mean, literally, I'm 2 minutes away. And but, you know, I was praying to the porcelain god. Like, I can't go there. I'm going to be like, hey, 2:22 left. Like, I'm going to vomit all over the place. Can't do that. No way, man. Stripper club voice. Hey, everybody. Hey, get out those wallets. I haven't done that. I don't think I've even done that since I've been on the channel. Anyway. Frisco native, hangovers happen when you don't hydrate with water here and there. No doubt. I think, you know, but you forget. Like, especially when you're young, you're like, water. Nowadays, it's like I do water for every drink that I do. I'm very careful. Like last night, I'll be honest with you. I was having dinner last night at home, and I thought to myself, because normally on a Friday, I'm going to have a couple of cocktails. And so what did we eat last night? I think we had like a beef and broccoli or something like that. So we're eating, and instinctively, just on a Friday, I don't have a problem with alcohol. It's just on a Friday, I'm about ready to make myself one. And then I thought to myself, it's probably about 8 or 8:30 at this time. We're watching some movie or something. And I thought to myself, like, what? I don't want to be hungover for the people tomorrow. So even though I look rather ragged today, I'm not hungover, and I didn't want to be hungover. So I did not partake last night. I wanted to make sure, especially on our first Saturday show, we do the show. If you're new, we do the show 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, or 8:05 actually is what I've planned it for now. But about around 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday, we do the show for maybe 2.5 hours. And I asked the people, I said, well, do you want to do a Saturday? You want to hang out on a Saturday? And they said, yeah. And I'm going to do more nighttime shows too. I'm really seeing that a lot of people want to hang out at night or do post games or whatever. And to be honest, I should have done a post game after Steph came out and said the things he said in Minnesota. So that's on me, but I'll do more of those. But anyway, yeah. So I didn't have a drink. I wanted to be sober for the people today and feel really good. Although I'll be honest with you, I did put Bailey's in this coffee, but now it's ice cold and I can't do it. Even when I like Bailey's, but I had a couple of sips and then I forgot. And I was doing the Krug show this morning at 9 o'clock, completely forgot about the coffee. Now it's ice cold. So I'm not going to do that. Let me see if we can throw me in another tangent before we get to the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pill. So we're going about an hour and a half. I like it. I like Saturdays. I'm going to probably keep this up. What are people talking about on the chat line? By the way, if you want to get your chat 100% on, you can do supers or whatever. Throw a couple of bucks to the kitty. I really appreciate that. That's going to go to my son in college. It's going to go to his New Orleans trip, and it's going to go to an ex-wife, and maybe it'll go to me too. But it'll help, believe me. Let's see. I saw somebody talking about scallops up here. Oh, there we go. Why did you guys go on a scallop tangent? Everybody's going, like, you guys are talking about scallops. That's one thing. I love seafood. Like, I think that you probably are doing this. Oh, here you go, Frisco. And, obviously, San Francisco is a great seafood town. I love scallops. I love seafood. I cannot do scallops. Is there a way that you can do scallops? Because to me, they taste like rubber, and I just can't get past it. And I would like to like them, I would like to like scallops because I'll do a cioppino or a all these different things that you do. I love shells, shell mussels, all those kind of things, whatever. White wine sauce. I used to work in a restaurant, absolutely great restaurant that they had those cold platters. So I was a bartender and it was really a fancy joint, and they would make like the crab platters and all those kind of things and lobster and shrimp, and they'd make them just fresh right there and do the cold platters. Love all that kind of stuff. When you look at fish like halibut or any of that kind of stuff, ahi. I'm not a salmon guy. I'm the only person in the universe that thinks that salmon is like. I'm just not a salmon guy. I just think it's fishy. I don't know why that is. But can somebody help me out with with scallops and how you're supposed to cook those or bake or whatever it is, or fry them or put them in in some kind of a seafood dish? Because I'd really like to like them, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, scallops. I'll be like, okay, because you know how your palate will mature over the years. Like, I didn't used to be a sushi person, but now even as we speak, maybe sushi sounds good tonight. But like sushi would be like, bleh. Like, my family was from the Midwest. I would bring up sushi to my daddy. Like, are you insane? We're having a steak and potatoes. We're having pizza. And we might slip tacos in there, but come on, Midwest family values. And I'm like, I'm gonna try some sushi. He never had sushi his whole life, and he was in the food business. All right. No, there's a bunch of super chats out here, and I didn't even pay attention, man. So we started out with Tommy today. F the Dodgers. That was back to our conversation of you can't blame the Dodgers for this Sasaki thing, man. The Giants choose to be 13th in payroll. I'm telling you, we went on that rant. Yep, there you go, Daniel. Stop buying tickets. That's hard for fans, isn't it? Could you ever stop buying tickets? Like, it's hard for people. It's like, no matter how expensive they get, and that's why things are jacked the way they are, we just can't help it. Live sporting events are awesome. We've had this debate so many times. This is an old sports radio debate. But like, I've been to a gazillion games in my life. Maybe I'm a little bit, maybe I'm a little over the top on that, but I've been to a lot of games, a lot of games, covered a ton of games. I started in the media business in 1997. I've covered a lot of games, been very, very fortunate to cover NBA finals and World Series and Super Bowls and lots of different things. But as far as from a fan perspective, to pay the kind of money that fans have to pay for parking, for tickets, for concessions, all those different things. And so you go to a game, let's just say it's even two of you. Normally it's like a family, but let's just say it's you and your buddy or you and your wife or you and your significant other. You're dropping $1,000. I mean, for good seats, I'm not talking nosebleeders. I'm saying good seats, parking. You might go to dinner before the game, but you're certainly going to have concessions. I mean, you're looking at, especially in football right now, because there's so few games, that's a supply and demand thing. Basketball has gotten outrageous, maybe not as much in baseball. You can get good seats for fairly cheap, but I mean, certainly in the NBA and the NFL, you're dropping $1,000 for even two. That's there's my guy Johnny. Time for new ownership. Current ownership is wasting my effing time talking about the Giants. And I'll go back over this before we get out of here. If you just joined the show, it has got to be frustrating to watch the Giants. We are a major market. We are the biggest single major league market in baseball now that the A's are gone. And you could make the argument that the A's have been gone since about 2012 or 14. It's been a long time. They have a lot of money. And while they may not want to spend like the Dodgers and don't have to, they're 13th in payroll next year. It's completely unacceptable. Tommy, I'm a diehard Niners fan only. Eagles fan Sunday. I get it. So that's an LA thing. So you just, and look, I'm not oblivious to the hate of LA, the clear hate of LA, even though in a weird way, I don't want to say this because you're going to take this the wrong way, that I'm defending the Dodgers. I'm not. I'm just saying they're going all in, and more than a hate for the Dodgers, not during the season, not when you see them on the diamond. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is just the way that they do business. The way that they do business, you don't hate that. You're jealous of it. So am I. And I'm telling you how to think, and that's a dangerous thing to do. So sorry. But what I'm saying is that you hate the way the Dodgers do business because the Giants aren't doing it, or whoever your favorite team is, if you're watching outside of the market, which I love that you are. You're pissed that the Dodgers are doing something that your team can do, but decide not to. Like in the NBA, I think Joe Lacob really wants to win, and I think that he would use every resource he could. If he were in baseball, he would be the Dodgers. The Warriors would be the Dodgers because Joe Lacob wants to win that badly. They would. He would spend and he would spend and he would spend, and he knows that he would get it back at the end of the day, that the value of the franchise is going up and up and up. He would spend, no doubt. The NBA rules are prohibitive. They are. They start taking the money, picks, the way that you can build your team. It is prohibitive. The NBA is trying for parity, that even though we think we want parity, we don't. When teams are dominant, that's when the TV ratings are the highest. It's a fact. When there are dominant teams, the ratings are the highest. When the Dodgers are on TV, people watch. When the Yankees are on TV, people watch. When you're everybody's in the middle, it's just not as fun. I don't know. You have a vested interest in hating the Dodgers almost as much as you have in liking your team. That's a fact through the years in sports. So Joe Lacob would do that, but he can't because the rules in the NBA are prohibitive. You can't do that in the NFL. Now, are there loopholes in every sport? There are. But the NFL has made it so that they want parity. The NBA has made it so they want parity. Major League Baseball has not. Major League Baseball has said, if you want to, we got a major loop here that we're not going to close. You can defer money. You can defer boatloads of money to Shohei Ohtani. He's going to make $2 million next year. And the Dodgers have decided to put it on a credit card for the future. That's a choice. They've done that with Blake Snell. They've done with a bunch of guys, and you're all pissed off. The damn Dodgers. They shouldn't be able to do that. Close the loophole. Baseball doesn't want to close the loophole, or they would. It's the offseason. They could. They did that a year ago with Shohei Ohtani. They keep pushing the money into the future because they want to win now. So the Giants could do that. They have enough money to do that. Their baseball park is paid off. They have plenty of money. They have corporate sponsors. I'm not saying they have the Dodgers money, but they have enough money to do it. They just choose not to. They don't have to have a self-imposed glass ceiling after they sign Willie Adames, but they do. The Dodgers don't. The Phillies don't. A lot of these major market teams do not have a glass ceiling like the Giants do, and the Giants are in the fourth largest media market overall and the number one market that only has a single baseball team. And it's not just recent. It's the A's have been out of the equation for a long time. So if they wanted to spend like this, and they could, they just choose not to. So get mad at the Dodgers all you want, and it sucks that I have to sit here and defend the Dodgers on a Saturday because that's not my ideal day. But I'm not mad at the Dodgers. They're taking advantage of it. They're a business, and they're looking at this as we want to win at all costs. And in the NBA, it's difficult to do. In the NFL, it's difficult to do. To be honest with you, I don't know the NHL rules enough to say, but I would imagine that they are that way too. So all these teams are striving for, I'm not going to say mediocrity, but they're striving for everyone to be able to compete. That's what they want. Even though they shouldn't, that's what they want. So the Major League Baseball is the only major sport left that says, woohoo! That was kind of a combination between a gun and a lasso. I don't know if that worked at all. It probably didn't. But it's the Wild West in baseball. You can defer money. You can spend what you want. The penalties really aren't that prohibitive. The Dodgers can still spend this kind of money and still be competitive. The Mets can throw all this money. Their owner is fine with it. They've got more money. They have more revenue coming in. I'm not saying that, and I said this earlier, and you already know this, that from a local standpoint, the NFL, everybody splits it because all these games are national, other than preseason. All the games are national, so everybody gets the money. So there's a difference. I mean, you can get more corporate sponsors. Can New York get more money than Nashville? Sure. But it's not as big of a gap as there is in baseball. There is a massive gap in baseball. But it ultimately comes down to a decision. And I showed you these a little bit earlier. So if you're new, let me just do this one more time, just because somehow we got back on this. Probably I did. But Major League Baseball payroll. So not all those teams are the biggest. Philly's not the biggest market. Now you get the Yankees and the Dodgers and then the Mets, 2, 3, and 4. That's major. Houston's not a major market. The Rangers are not a major market, yet they signed Simi into that money and Corey Seager that money. They won a World Series a year ago. Toronto's a major market. San Diego's not as big as the Bay Area. Atlanta's not. The Angels are in LA technically, but they're not really major market. They're kind of like the A's that way. Arizona and Phoenix is not bigger. And then you get to these 3 teams that are doing the same thing. The Cubs are major market, 3rd largest media market in the country. They have their own TV. I'd be really pissed if I was a Cubs fan. They have marquee. They have their own TV network. Their own. They own it. And they are, 12th in payroll? They just have a cheap owner. The Giants have cheap ownership, and I think they'd rather keep turnstiles turning than trophies. And Boston the same way. You have 3 teams that are major markets that should not be 11, 12, 13, or 12, 13, 14 in payroll, but they have made a decision. That's 2025 payroll. They've made a decision that that's where they're going to be. And so you don't have to be the Dodgers at 3, and you don't have to be the Mets at 4, but certainly Houston, Texas, Toronto, San Diego, Atlanta, you're bigger than all those markets, and you could absolutely be in that realm. But you have a self-imposed glass ceiling that says we won't do that. So I don't want to defend the Dodgers, but I'm just saying that if you wanted to win and spend more money, like, for example, everyone thought they were going to go over $200 million for Corbin Burns. And what were we saying on this show? That ain't happening. They're not giving Corbin Burns that money. We knew that. All of us knew that. We were 100% like, they're not giving Corbin Burns $200+ million. It's just not happening. So we knew that. All right, I'm done with that. I did it earlier, but some people may not have been here. My friend AJ Cruz. Yeah, John Jr.'s upcoming binge in the Big Easy. To be honest with you, and you just triggered me on that. Let me keep you up there. You just triggered me on that, AJ. Is that there are certain things in life where, you let the reins go with your kid at a certain age. He's 21. I'm not nervous of what he doesn't have to check in. A lot of people have like something on their phone that tracks their kid. I've never had that. I'm just like, look, I got to trust the kid. He always got good grades. He's never let me down. So now as he says that, he's going to let me down today probably. But, I've always thought to myself, he's earned it. He's earned it. So I'm not going to worry about it. But there's times where like you're teaching your kid to drive, or there's first this or that. And you're like, oh my God, is he going to screw this up? And he generally speaking has not. But him going to New Orleans with 3 other kids from Arizona State, it's called the Cronkite School down there, the Cronkite Broadcast School. Yeah, I'm not real confident because it really is not even in your hands. Like I was talking about Dre Greenlaw the other day. That deal is not in their hands. There might be another team that might go with a 2 or a 3-year deal with Dre Greenlaw. So that is not truly in Dre Greenlaw's hands. I'm making an analogy here that may or may not work, which is it's not really in my son's hands 100% that he's going to survive New Orleans in a positive way, because you might have the best of intentions. And like I said, he's not a big drinker. You might have the best of intentions, but New Orleans just swallows you up. And it's like, oh my God. Like I've told you the story on Bourbon Street. Was this Super Bowl 47? I got to get Chris Townsend on and we'll tell stories about New Orleans. But on Bourbon Street, it was like, I don't know, 4:30 in the morning, right? And during Super Bowl 47, it was like 4:30 in the morning. And Townie and Chris Townsend, who works at the A's, and I'm sure you know him. Chris Townsend and I are just walking Bourbon Street. And it's about 4:30, and we're like, probably time to go. Like, because here's the thing. Oh, I know what story I was going to tell you. Let me stay on track here. Remind me to tell you the Saturday New Orleans story. The Saturday New Orleans story. So this is on Friday night. And what happens at the Super Bowl is you're either staying through Monday and you're covering the game, or a lot of people just go down for Radio Row and then they leave on Saturday morning. So Townie was leaving on Saturday morning. It was a Friday night. It was like 4:30. Our program director at the time, Jason Barrett, to justify the money that they were spending, said, you've got to do a Saturday show. So we're bombed and we're all this. And I'm like, I got to get to bed. I got to be at the convention center, and nobody's in the convention center on Saturday. It's Radio Row's Monday through Friday, and then the stakes go up. But you can still do it. It's there. It's just there's nobody there. There's thousands of people during the week. There's nobody on a Saturday morning. So I'm going to tell you that story in just a second. But so we're there, and we're walking, and we're about ready to get back. We're walking on Bourbon Street. We're about ready to take a left to get off Bourbon Street and then walk towards our hotel, and we're home free. We see Papa kind of stumbling towards us. And he's like, "You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere." I'm like, "Oh, we are almost out of here. We almost made it." And then we go to this place. You probably know of it if you've been to New Orleans. It's called Absinthe House. And I don't know what's in absinthe, but all I know is that like this, when you make it right, as they do in New Orleans, it's like this concoction. It looks like they have like scientific beakers and there's smoke coming out of this and they're putting all this stuff in there. And I'm just like, what in the hell? What are they making? And so anyway, long story short is you're supposed to shoot it. And then they put it in some like fancy, not a martini glass, but something along those lines. It's New Orleans. So it's like this classic, I don't even know what kind of glass I would call it. Anyway, so we shoot those things down and I'm telling you, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, whoa. And then Papa leaves, like he's just like he's known to do. Like, he's like, he has to bob and weave constantly. He cannot sit in one place. So he's off by himself trying to find, the next whatever. And I get up from this chair and I'm like, whoa, you got to be kidding me. And so me and Townie are kind of like, all right. And so, we start walking and I get tackled from behind by this bouncer from the Absinthe House. And he's like, "You guys have a tab." And I'm like, that guy walking that other way paid the tab because we had been there earlier. And I guess we came back. I can't remember, but it was like a $200 or $300 tab. I'm like, no, that guy, he's paying it, man. He said he was taking care of it. He's like, well, that guy's gone. And so we ended up, I get tackled. I have to go back. We have to pay the tab. We finally get out of there. And I don't know, by the time we walk back to the hotel room, it's past 5. And so then I get up, I set my alarm, and Townie, I was rooming with Townie that we had the double beds. It wasn't like plane, trains, and automobiles. And so Townie leaves. He wakes me up because he's like, "Dude, you got that show." I think he left at maybe 7 a.m. to the hotel. And he's like, "You got that show. It starts at 10 because we had the program director that had to justify the fact that he had sent us to New Orleans. And this is Super Bowl 47, Niners, Ravens. And so I'm like, okay. So I get up, and again, I'm hungover as hell. And you probably know Lorenzo Neal. So Lorenzo Neal is there, and Lorenzo was working with us at 95.7 The Game at the time. There you go, Pine Needle. Short stem glass. Yeah, you're right. That's what it was. It was absinthe is best enjoyed in a short stem glass with a reservoir at the end. That's what happened, Pine Needle. You're exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's what happened. That's what I drank out of. Papa with the Irish goodbye, 100%. But his is different. An Irish goodbye is like you stumble away and you go home and maybe you're in a gutter. Maybe you make it back. Maybe you don't. But that's just what he did. He has I don't even know what I would call it. He can't sit still. He's one of those people that's just like, he can't. He just, like, we would do shows together and, we'd be on YouTube or whatever at KMBR, and he would leave every second. Like, so the producer's trying to tell him, "Hey, you got to read here. You got to read, an advertisement read. Yeah, you got to read. You got to live read." He's gone. Like, if you don't get to him within maybe 2 seconds, he's gone. He can't sit still. Like, he could not sit here. I've sat here for an hour and 48. And then I was in this chair an hour before with Krug. So I don't even know what time it is. God, it's noon. Love of God. So anyway, he couldn't sit here. I've been sitting here since 9 a.m. So he couldn't do that. So it's not really an Irish goodbye. So anyway, I'm glad I remembered this. So anyway, Townie leaves. He wakes me up. I'm feeling terrible. And then the thing I was most afraid about is I had hung out with Lorenzo Neal a little bit the night before. You're in Bourbon Street, so you're popping in and out, seeing people. And I told Lorenzo, I go, "Remember, we have the show tomorrow at Radio Row on a Saturday at," I think it wasn't 9 o'clock. That would have been 6 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. It was probably like at noon. That's probably what it was. I think we did like noon to 3 West Coast time. So or noon to 3, noon to 3 East Coast time, which would have been 9 to noon. That's what it was. So I had to be over at the convention center in New Orleans at like 9 a.m, and so did Lorenzo. And so my head's pounding, and this may make you believe that I've got a problem with alcohol. I don't know. It was just, you're in New Orleans, that's what you do. And it was the Friday night before the Super Bowl. Everybody blows their minds out. And then 90% of the people leave. And then, I stay because I'm covering the Super Bowl. So anyway, Lorenzo comes down on that Saturday, and we had been hanging out, and I didn't notice anything on the Friday night that was any different with Lorenzo. He seemed fine to me. And so I get there. I'm not feeling great. I barely showered. I look a mess. I look terrible. And I'm the only one. I'm not kidding you. We're the only ones in the convention center. Monday through Friday, the place is a madhouse. Everyone leaves town. We're in this Radio Row Convention Center in New Orleans. There's no one. It's me and him. And so we're talking to each other. And here's the problem. So I'm talking. Lorenzo's a little late. I see him walking towards me, and he's pointing towards like his neck and his mouth and everything. I'm like, what are you talking about? So we go to the first break, 10, 15 minutes. I do the solo thing, and I go, what's going on? And he goes, I can't talk. I have laryngitis. I can't talk. I'm like, dude, I am hungover like crazy, and you have laryngitis. So he tries. So he's like, so he stays with it because I'm like, I can't do this by myself. No way. You got to nut up. You got to figure out a way. So he's like this the whole time. And then I'm talking, and then like an angel from God, I'm not even kidding you. Like an angel from God, here comes Alyssa Milano. You know Alyssa Milano from Who's the Boss and all the different things. What was that show she was with? She was on that witch show or whatever. But anyway, she's been in a ton of stuff, right? Big sports fan. So she's there like promoting a book, or I don't know, some NFL. She's related, or she does something with the NFL, with gear and all that kind of stuff. So here comes, I'm not kidding you. It's me, Lorenzo, a couple of engineer guys way in the back. People are tearing down Radio Row, whatever. And it's Alyssa Milano walking towards us like a goddess. So it's me hungover. It's Lorenzo with laryngitis in New Orleans, and I see her coming, and he's trying to get through the segment, and I held up my finger like, hang on. Because she's not going to get anywhere near us. She knows what we're going to do. So I sprint as best I can in the condition that I'm in. I sprint to Alyssa Milano and say, could you please come on the show? I'm not feeling great. As you can see, I look a mess. I'm like in a sweatshirt and sweats too. If I'd have known I was going to see Alyssa Milano, not like I'd have a shot with her or something, but I mean, it would have dressed up decently. Terrible. My breath is probably still booze oozing through my pores, but whatever. So I say to her, please, please. And she said, she's so nice. And she says, okay. And so she comes over to the table, and let's say that, like I said, we were going 9 to noon Pacific, and we're probably an hour into the show. And Lorenzo can't talk. But for some weird reason, all of a sudden, Alyssa Milano comes by, and we're talking, we're having a great time. And all of a sudden, Lorenzo just turns on the charm, and all of a sudden, he can speak. Now, not in a 100% way, but still, he can speak. And so he starts going with this whole thing of, man, the way I would treat you, because she brings up her husband or something like real early to let us both know, like, and it's like, look, I know I'm in sweats and I look terrible anyway. And this is like bottom percent for me. Even if I could look good, I don't look good. So I'm not trying to hit on her or anything, but Lorenzo gets into this thing, and you might've heard this. And I forgot what we used to call it. Lorenzo's, I don't remember, but anyway, we back in the studio, they start playing music, like, like Barry White kind of music. And he starts saying what he would do. And girl, I'd treat you this way. And she's honestly blushing. She starts blushing, and she's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? My boyfriend would never do this. And it ended up being this awesome segment in which, in which we didn't let her go. Like, I don't know where she was going. Clearly she had something on the agenda to be down there, because nobody else is in New Orleans at this time at Radio Row on a Saturday morning. And we kept her for no less than an hour. Like, we never went to break. The producer in my ear, and there's what's called a talkback, and they're telling me break, because they have commercials to run. Break. One, like, what? And she can hear it because she's got headphones on. There's no way I'm breaking, because if I break, she leaves, and Lorenzo all of a sudden has laryngitis again. So I'm not breaking. And so we kept her from probably, like I said, we did the first hour. We probably kept her from like 10 to 11:15. She couldn't have been nicer. Finally, her husband or boyfriend, whoever it was, comes and rescues her and's like, Alyssa, we got to go. And so then, she leaves. So then we maybe did like a half hour. Then we broke, and they had to play like 10 minutes of commercials. And then we probably did like 15 or 20 minutes after that. But yeah, she saved our ass. She saved me. And then she certainly saved Lorenzo. He couldn't talk, except for when Alyssa Milano was sitting there. Amazingly enough, he found his voice. So anyway, I got another great story on Lorenzo that we won't tell at this time. Speaking of Vegas and New Orleans, I ran into him in Vegas one time, right on the floor. Me and my wife, it was like, it's Lorenzo Neal. Great guy. Just an amazing guy. Low on love. You are the man, AJ Cruz. That's what it was. You have the memory of memories. It was Low on Love. And that's where it started, by the way. It started in New Orleans with us. was called Low on Love. You're right. Damn, you're good. Damn, you're good. Yeah, that was a thing that they ended up doing, I think, on their morning show on 95.7. I think they start doing that. But the origin of it, if you didn't know, the origin of it was we were in New Orleans. I was hungover. He had laryngitis, and he starts in on Alyssa Milano. And I'm not kidding you. She had like a piece of paper or something. She was fanning herself. She was blushing. Like he was like, girl, like, you know, with the music, with the Barry White music, if you could imagine. Girl, what I'd do to you, I'd have these rose petals and this champagne, and we'd be doing this and that. And if I had done it, she's like, God, you're a creep. I got to go. But like the way he did it with his voice and the, you know, good looking guy, successful, played in the NFL, like, and she's a big football fan. And so she knew who he was. And so she's just like rolling with it. Like, this is good. You know, my boyfriend, husband, whatever, never do this. And he's not around at the time. So he's just like Low on Love. And that's where it started. That was the origin of it. No, true story. 100%. Like I see her across this vast, and I'm not kidding you. This is like a major like hall in New Orleans. And it's like, you know, so it's like being in an airplane hangar or something. It was massive. And so I'm looking and I see her and I'm like, okay, I can't run the 40 right now. And I'm really hungover, but I am running a 40-yard dash to get her because we got 2 more hours on the air and it's me and it's laryngitis guy. Nah, we're not making it. We're not going to make it. We're going to cut early and then they're going to be mad at us. This is a good idea right here. Let's move on. We are in the random stuff part of the show, by the way, if you're just joining us. Senior softball games. Lund, can you give us an update on Tolbert? What I can tell you is Tolbert will be back to the airwaves soon. I would think within, what do we got today? What's today? 18th? I would think within the month, Tolbert will be announcing. And where did Heather Locklear come from, by the way? I'm easily, as you know, I'm easily distracted. But yeah, senior softball games, as far as Tommy is concerned, I would think within the month or so, Tom is going to be back, and I am not at liberty to say anything more than that. We'll get him on the show very shortly as soon as those things become public. But yeah, Tom, I can tell you this, and I don't think I'm letting anything out of the bag. He is chomping at the bit. He is chomping at the bit to get something going. Yeah, he posted on his Twitter account for the first time since I think 2022. It'd been 2 years, and he just said word. That's all he said. He just said word, and people are like, "Oh my God, he's back!" So I'm not at liberty to say when, but I will say that he'll be back shortly. I think that's a fair thing to say, that he will be back shortly. So that's as good as I can do on that. Anything else? Yeah, Alyssa Milano growing up, it was like, she was very attractive. Yeah, Tolbert's going to tell that he told on Rome. Dr. Bordeaux, right? Dr. Bordeaux, classic. So good. He won the Smack Off 1 year, Tolbert. He's great. Yeah, well, believe me, he'll be on the show and he'll be on a lot of shows and he'll be doing a lot of cool stuff and you're gonna love what he's gonna be doing. So I'll let you know. But it's gonna be cool. We're all I've told you this since day one on this show. We're all gonna be getting together and putting an effort together an effort that's going to be kind of together. So that's as well as I can do. And I probably shouldn't let that cat out of the bag, but yeah, it's going to be really cool. I'll just let you know that. Let's see. EB here. Yeah. Heather Locklear, you're going deep. She's kind of lost her mind a little bit. If I don't know. Do you turn into Tony Danza when you see her? Yeah. Hey, nah, but she is as pretty in person. She's one of those people that doesn't seem to age. She's very pretty. But again, that was Super Bowl 47. So what are you looking at? That's what, 15 years ago or something? 12, 13, whatever it is. So anyway, she saved my butt, man. She saved my butt there. What else do we have today? Anything else that anybody's thinking about? Charmed. There you go. Skills report. You are the man. Yeah, you got it. Charmed is what she was on. Yeah. Thank you. Skills report. Yeah. She was on Charmed was that show. And she was on with, what's her name? She just passed away. But anyway, yeah, that was a good show. She was very pretty in that show. And she's had a lot of success in her career. And yeah, she did. When am I streaming again with Damon? That's a great point. I love Damon, man. He did pop in early on the show. So whenever he wants to do something, I want to do something. He's great. He does the live streams, which is a brilliant idea during the show. So hopefully I'll pop on with him shortly. I do stuff with Krug. I did it this morning at 9 a.m. You can go back to my page at John Lund Unleashed Pod on YouTube and check that out. And so we'll do that. All right. I do have a caboose. What was my caboose today that I was going to bring up? Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. Do I still have it? Hopefully I do, because there's two things. All right, let me play the fancy clean open. Where's the caboose open here? Hang on a second. If you're new to the show, we always end the show this way. There's a funk bed. There it is. All right, let's do it. We got a couple here.
John Lund Unleashed brings you the Caboose pistol.
A female officer noticed the handle of a revolver sticking out from inside the woman.
What is the Caboose pistol?
Did you say Caboose?
The old Caboose pistol, everybody has, right?
What better way to end the show than with a what the fuck was that?
How'd I beep that out?
Crack of her buttocks.
Good. I know someone who could hide a machine gun in there. Yeah. I'm sorry, we're getting off track.
Just take it away, Lund, and leave me out of this, you weirdo.
Not a weirdo. Not a weirdo. All right, let me. There's a couple of caboose stories that I want to leave you with today. Number one, let me go back to a caboose we had a couple of days ago about a donut shortage. So remember, I that was on like, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday, one of those days that Dunkin' Donuts is saying that they have a donut shortage, and somebody then texted me and said I forgot the ingredient that's short, whatever it is. So then my friend CK, if you're ever in the Walnut Creek area, you take the Treat Boulevard exit, and there's a place called All-Star Donuts. He's not paying me a dime, but through the years, we got so many donuts. When I lived in Walnut Creek with my son, every Friday we would go there and get donuts on the way to his school, and then it became more than that, anything. Anyway, he's one of those guys, one of the independent donut guys that those are the places to get your best donuts anyway. And he heard me talking about this on the show, and he sent me a private message and said, there is no donut shortage. That's just them trying to jack prices on their stuff. So CK told me in Walnut Creek from All-Star Donuts, a great spot right by Krug's house, by the way, still where Krug is. So you can say hi to Krug at the same time. But right there's a Safeway there. It's right off Treat Boulevard. And right off the exit, maybe, a mile or so, right to the right, you'll see a Safeway, and it's called All-Star Donuts. He gave me a private message and said, that's BS, that there ain't a donut shortage. He does it every day. He's an independent guy, has made awesome donuts forever. Just incredible spot, one of those just mom and pop kind of places. But he's been in business since I've lived here, and I used to go there every day because we used to live right by it. So CK tells me no donut shortage. So that's number one. Number two, where's this one? This is just weird, man. And I tried to find. I've told you this before. I love when they have these stories in which there's a news story, because those are funnier than the actual story itself. So let me see where I put this story. Don't tell me I didn't put this story in here, because I built it up now. And now I don't know if I can find it here. Hang on. I couldn't have screwed this up, could I have? Donut shortage. Oh, man. You got to be kidding me. All right. I'll just have to tell you this without showing you this. How did I do? I swear I put this in here. I'm going to find this later and be mad at myself. I don't see it. All right. To our weekend viewers, I'm much better than this normally. I normally am right on it. I normally have this thing down. God, dang it. All right, hang on. You know what? I'm going to try to pull this up for you, because I'm mad that that you're not going to be able to see this, and I just have to have it, because it's not going to be nearly as good. I just hope I put it in the system this morning, which I'm pretty – oh, there it is. Okay. I know I put this in. But it's okay. It's just going to take a second. Hang on. Talk amongst yourself. There we go. Mom appalled after discovering sons might have eaten their grandfather's ashes. See that pawpaw right there? Apparently that's where they kept the ashes in that kind of a thing. And apparently that kid to the right there ate the ashes. There's a couple of things here. My son doesn't eat anything, even to this day at 21. He's a very picky eater. He's a very picky eater. And so, like ashes, apparently that whole thing was full of ashes. Would your kid eat a whole thing of ashes? That's wild. And then as far as ashes go, they're just the weirdest thing. Like, I don't know. We didn't do ashes, but with my dad, I guess we did. We had to buy an urn. And I think that I've probably told you that story before. Like, we're in that place and we're like, these gold urns and all these kind of things are like $2,000. And I'm like, $5,000 on something. I'm like, don't you just have a box? Like, seriously, like $5,000 for ashes? So anyway, I know they're somewhere, but my mom called me probably a couple of weeks ago. My father passed away in May of 2000 or June of 2014. And I'm like, where are those? And she's like, I don't know. Like, ashes, that's a racket. The ashes thing is a racket. It really is. Because it's like, well, here are the ashes. And it's like, well, gosh, all right. And you're supposed to put them in to a place and everything. And I understand that. I totally get it. But it's like, I don't know about just keeping them around the house. Like, I don't know that I would do that in that plastic pawpaw cross that she's got there. That's a lowbrow. But anyway, apparently the kid ate the ashes. I just can't, like, those were full of ashes. I'm just like, wow, okay. Like, you poured the ashes, decide, you know what? It's just pawpaw, it's a plastic cross. I'm going to eat that. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, like, if my mom gave me something to eat, I would eat it. But I don't think I walked around the house going, this might be good. Like a dog. Like, dogs just eat stuff. You're like, what are you doing? Why are you eating that sock? Why are you, what are you eating? Like, why are you in the trash? Like, dogs do that. That's a young looking, kid there, but I don't know. Ashes? Anyway, mom appalled after discovering sons might have eaten the grandfather's ashes. I'm sure ashes don't taste good. I don't think I've tried ashes. Anyway, there's a sweet, clean family friend, the Caboose pistol. Pawpaw. No more pawpaw. That's it. It's over. No pawpaw. Eat the ashes. I'd be worried about my kid more than that. Like, what are you eating ashes for? What is wrong with you? Exactly. Like a fireplace. You ever put your hand in a fireplace? This might be good. I don't know. It's weird, man. Don't apologize, Lund, for getting this for free. Just like the promo says. What are you bitch and moan about? It's free. You crazy? Yeah, there you go. All-Star Donuts is at North Main and Treat. There you go. North Main and Treat. And the guy's name is CK. So if you go in there, say, what's up, CK? And ask him. He told me, he was emphatic. He's like, no donut shortage. That's just Dunkin' Donuts. And I told you that the other day when I brought that up. I'm like, this is just a large company saying, we're going to have to raise our prices. Just like when every time you can book it around the Super Bowl, every year there'll be a story that Darren Rovell will write that will be, there's a shortage of chicken wings. Shortage of chicken wings. And then they jack the prices because they know, what are we going to do? We're going to go in. We got to have chicken wings. So we're going to pay whatever the price may be. Or just like in the summertime. There's a gas shortage. Yeah, how convenient is that? I'm going on my vacation. I just rented a motorhome. It's going to cost me $1 gazillion and gas prices are up because there's a shortage. No, there's not. It's not a donut shortage. There's not a wing shortage. There's not a gas shortage. Like, stop it. Well, yeah, that's what they do. It's just the deal. All right. We've gone 2 hours on a Saturday. How did you think Saturday went? Because, again, this is just kind of a trial balloon. If you like the Saturday show, I'll keep doing the Saturday show. So I did an hour with Krug today, and you and I together have done 2 hours and 7 minutes, and I've enjoyed it. We did everything we said we would do. Episode 35, Saturday debut, Krug show, Dodgers, don't blame them. Blame the Giants, NFL playoffs, Barkley, which is Charles Barkley, he's done it again. Rat-infested San Francisco. I'm not going. Dude, we don't want you. I love you. Inside the NBA is hilarious. But if I'm the Warriors, why don't you put out a statement, have some balls, and go, we don't want Charles Barkley here. The Wiz are in town, which we went on to a tangent of Curry, random stuff. My God, have we done random stuff. Caboose pistol, kid eats the grandpa's ashes, Pawpaw gone. So I think we're good. Yeah, that's what I did. I got you close to the playoffs. Now you just cook up some food, get some drinks, and you're ready to go. We're almost to playoff time. What do we got? 12:24. You're an hour away. 1:30. Root against the Chiefs. How about it? Hey, what's going on there? Good to see you, 203. I don't know that we've seen each other before, so let's pop you up there. Yoo! Good to see you. Excellent. There you go. You're right. So let me know. Just give me some feedback, whether it's here on the show or, let's see, too close to playoffs. Yeah, that's what I said. Steve, one of my favorites. I'll cut it off now. Yeah, right there. Oh, you work across from De La Salle, so you know what I'm talking about. I used to live right down the street there. So you know where it is. You know exactly what's going on there. Yeah, right there. Go see CK, man. Tommy, tell him I sent you in there. And CK's the best. He's absolutely, positively the best. Anyway, good to see you. If you missed any of the show, if you wanted to talk more about sports and the Dodgers getting Sasaki and all that kind of stuff, and my rationale, or NFL playoffs, or Charles Barkley being an ass, or any of these things, just hit the front part of the show. Please make sure you subscribe. We always talk about that. Please make sure you subscribe. And I am really happy that you made time for me on a Saturday, because you got stuff to do. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to come in there and be like, I'm going to hang out with Lund for a little while. Even if you just didn't stay the whole time, I appreciate it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. YouTube is at John Lund Unleashed Pod, at John Lund Unleashed Pod. We are normally here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. We start early. Again, you don't have to be there for the start. We always archive all these shows. We're here throughout the day, so make sure not only are you subscribed, but your alerts are on, so that when I do go live, when we have breaking news and the such, and we're going to do some post games. And so this probably won't be the only one I'll do over the weekend. We might do some shorter ones. So make sure your alerts are on as well on YouTube. We are live also on Instagram and X, so you can catch us there. And then right after the show, like I always say, we hit a button and magically you have a podcast that appears on Apple, Spotify, and all your favorite places. We have soft launched the website. I'm still working on a few things, but it's active enough to be dangerous. So hit us up there at John Lund, or not at, JohnLundUnleashed.com. And please, you can be a Lund loyalist for $5 a month, and we're going to send out a lot of the videos and chats and all those kind of things that will be exclusive to those members, and that's not going to sink you for $5. Hell, I gave $300 yesterday to save the children, so you can save me. I'm just kidding. I don't need saving. All right, great time had by all today. Give me some feedback on the Saturday show, and if not Saturday at 10 a.m., and like I said, we're kind of democratic, so if not Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, what would be a good time for you? Do you want more night shows later in the day so you can sleep in? Whatever it is you want, I am here for you. And remember, you can archive the show right there at YouTube. So it's the only time you can get it is not just live. It archives on John Lund Unleashed Pod on YouTube. So there you go. Have a tremendous Saturday. Enjoy the playoffs. Let's get together soon, hopefully before the end of the weekend. If not, then I will see you 8 a.m. on Monday. John Lund Unleashed. Have a great weekend. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the NFL playoffs, and thanks for making the time.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!